To the Honorable General Secretary of the Ministry of Education and Culture, Republic of Indonesia, all of Director Generals and Directors from all Ministers of Republic Indonesia and SEAMEO countries, the Director of SEAMES and SEAMEO centers, the distinguished resource persons, Board of Directors and Managers of SEAMEO RecFund, respectable participants, ladies and gentlemen. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Peace be upon you. Welcome to the first SEAMEO International Conference on Food and Nutrition, Day 1. My name is Izati Hayu Andari. I am honored to be your Master of Ceremony for today's event. Before starting this virtual conference, we would like to remind you that more information about this event is accessible through our apps SEAMEO ICFN that you can download on your gadget. We would like to inform you that we will be tweeting live this event through our Twitter account at SEAMEO RecFund. Please tweet your experience in joining this conference by mentioning at SEAMEO RecFund, and don't forget to put hashtag FirstICFN, hashtag virtual conference, and hashtag ECCE. We will have a prize for the best comment on Twitter that will be announced on the last day of the conference. If you want to win this prize, you must tweet your insights on any sessions, either in the plenary, parallel, hangout, or poster walk sessions, or the main points discussed by our plenary speakers, or the summary of a particular plenary session. Don't forget to put hashtag FirstICFN, hashtag virtual conference, and hashtag ECCE. Ladies and gentlemen, as a protocol, we invite you to pay respect to the SEAMEO colors, as well as gain more understanding of our organization by watching the following videos.
our goals through partnership, creating opportunities. By working hand in hand, we can accomplish all our dreams. For a better quality of life is now within our reach. Let us take a stand for our visions of hope, making future plans for the people to grow in a life filled with happiness and glee. Here at SEAMEO, building the future is our legacy. Let us take a stand for our visions of hope, making future plans for the people to grow in a life filled with happiness and glee. Here at SEAMEO, building the future is our legacy. Building the future is our legacy. At SEAMEO,
Indeed, building the future is SEAMEO's legacy. We hope that this conference will also be one of SEAMEO RecFon's legacies, particularly on ensuring quality early life for productive human resources as the conference theme. Ladies and gentlemen, to welcome you all, we would like to invite the Director of SEAMEO RecFon, Mukhtaruddin Mansur, MD, Ph.D., to give his speech.
Thank you, MC. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Very good afternoon, Indonesia, and morning in Europe, because we have Prof. Haggarty in Aberdeen. The Honorable Secretary General, Ministry of Education and Culture, Republic of Indonesia. Sorry. All of the senior officer and officers from ministry, especially Ministry of Education, Ministry of Health, Ministry of Agriculture, and other ministries in Indonesia and also in SEAMEO member countries. The director of SEAMES and regional centers, all speakers, presenters, moderators, and lovely all participants of the first SEAMEO International Conference on Food and Nutrition. First of all, I say Alhamdulillah for the blessing of Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala Almighty for pouring out our health and safety favor in the midst of a pandemic situation. Apart from the COVID-19 pandemic situation that we have been facing for more than half a year, that could be an epidemic in some countries, I don't hope so. The increasing cases of malnutrition, overnutrition, and food safety, as well as cases of food insecurity, are problems that should not be neglected. Stunting and other nutritional problems are significant barriers to human development. This affects not only physical function, but also cognitive function, which can have a long-term impact on productivity and social well-being. We are all aware about the importance the first 1,000 days of life in improving the child growth and development. On top of this, to be able to create advanced human resources as SEAMEO legacy, investment in nutrition and health in early childhood as the next generation is a must. Indonesia and other Southeast Asian countries are aware of the importance of these things and committed to preventing stunting and other nutrition problems through the Convergence program for the acceleration of stunting prevention. The COVID-19 pandemic has made the world struggling, not only causing casualties, but also socioeconomic impact, including food security and food safety. In every crisis, babies and children are one of the most vulnerable age group. Knowledge and action to mitigate and prevent damage from the pandemic are of paramount importance to protect the future generation. Research is an important foundation in the development of policies and programs. These are the reasons that we use the theme of this conference is ensuring quality early life for productive human resources. Post-COVID-19 pandemic, updates on early childhood care, nutrition and education research and program evaluation. The Honorable Pak Sekjen and all audiences. SEAMEO consistently contributes in promoting nutrition through research, training, education, and community development. SEAMEO has carried out the second phase of its 5-year development plan, focusing on research related to maternal and child nutrition with a food-based approach. SEAMEO research focused on the 5 areas, namely food security and food safety, nutrigenomic, nutrigenetic, nutritional related diseases, policy, nutrition policy and program, and best practice in nutritional assessment. In the past 6 years, SEAMEO has conducted research dissemination seminars annually. And today, we are starting this first SEAMEO International Conference on Food and Nutrition in enabling the researchers to share the research results and learn from each other. We expect this 3 days conference from today, September 9 to September 11, produce output of 1, conference proceedings containing the summary of papers and posters presented related to early childhood care, nutrition, and education, or we can call ECCNE, 2, policy recommendation for relevant stakeholders on ECCNE, and 3, publish of selected papers presented in an international peer-reviewed journal. By now, there are 52 speakers in the plenary, presenters, info, parallel session, and posters. And this afternoon, I can see 287 participants join in this opening ceremony from the Zoom, and also some of them will not be able to join in Zoom meeting, but they can join in YouTube from 1,800 registered participants. Dear Honorable Pak Sekjen, I can confirm that the funding of this conference is fully supported by Ministry of Education and Culture, Republic of Indonesia. And the conference is held in the form of an entirely virtual conference. I would send my gratitude to all speakers, moderators, committee members, and participants for all of your effort to make this event done. On this occasion, I would like to express my special gratitude to Director of SEAMEO. I can see Dr. Ethel here. Dr. Ethel Valenzuela, thank you very much. And the Director of the Cooperation and Public Relations Bureau of the Ministry of Education and Culture Republic Indonesia, Madam Evi Mulyani, Ph.D. Thank you for their continued support of the SEAMEO Reform Program. This remark is also my update report to Pak Sekjen. That I would also like to thank to some colleagues from university. I can see the Director of Human Resources from Universitas Indonesia, Dr. Abdullah Sam, thank you. The Dean of Faculty of Medicine, Universitas Indonesia, Prof. Arif Aryal, Professor Neti Herawati from University of Riau, Ibu Emma Ramawati from University of Hamka, Prof. Mary Chong from National University Singapore, Prof. Kitty from Mahidol University Thailand, and Prof. Lela S. Africa from University of Philippines, Los Banos, and also some colleagues from Health Polytechnic crossover Indonesia. Also our close partner from international organization, Ibu Ariana Asri, as Country Director of Nutritional International, and from the Ministry of Education, Youth and Sport, Madam Regina Suarez Amaral, the Senior Advisor of Minister, Dr. Hlaing, the Acting Director of National Nutritional Research, National Research Center, from Myanmar, and all our regional center. I can see here Prof. Sumaryono from KITEP, Mathematics, Dr. Murugan Al-Raju from Reksam, Malaysia, Dr. Dwi Priyono, CSEP, Dr. Indika Mansur, Dr. Luh Anik Mariani, thank you for all your support, and also Dr. Sandra Tempongko from SEAMEO Network. Then I will ask Pak Sekjen your willingness to officially open this first SEAMEO International Conference on Food and Nutrition, then deliver the keynote speech. Finally, I will apologize to you all for any inconvenience thing might be happen related to the all conference agenda, and hope any weakness of the agenda will not significantly affect your all participation in the conference and enrichment of all of us experiences. Let's pray to Allah Almighty with His blessing. The conference is so smoothly run and all of us keep safe and healthy. Billahi taufiq wal hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you very much, Dr. Mukhtar, for the speech. This afternoon, we are privileged to have the Director of SEAMEO Secretariat, Dr. Ethel Agnes P. Valenzuela, to deliver her speech.
Honorable Professor Dr. Ainun, General Secretary of the Ministry of Education and Culture, Indonesia, Dr. Professor Mansour, Director of SEAMEO RecFon, our dear SEAMEO RecFon colleagues, SEAMEO Center directors and officials, distinguished keynote and plenary speakers, beloved participants, ladies and gentlemen, Selamat siang. Good afternoon. On behalf of the SEAMEO Secretariat, it is my great pleasure to be here with you on this very historic first international conference conducted via virtual mode. The first SEAMEO International Conference on Food and Nutrition with the theme Ensuring Quality of Early Life for Productive Human Resources Post-COVID-19 Pandemic. Updates on early childhood care, nutrition, and education research program evaluation. I think it is very challenging to organize international conference during the time of pandemic, but many of us are in lockdown and we have not even went back to work in some parts of Southeast Asia, and still some classes are suspended. But SEAMEO RecFon pushed the program forward because of the importance of bringing all the think tanks in this region and beyond to talk about the quality of food and nutrition program with a strong determination and attention to uphold quality programs even during the time of pandemic. This strong determination of RecFon has reflected the current SEAMEO education agenda, especially priority number 1 on early childhood care and nutrition. The SEAMEO agenda as well addressing barriers to inclusion or inclusive education for everyone. It's also talking about resiliency in the face of emergencies and promoting 21st century competencies and skills. All of these priority areas reflect, combined together, the trust of SEAMEO RecFon, including revitalizing teacher education, teachers who are challenged to deliver quality education and learning outcomes during the time of pandemic. In line with the priority area on ECCE, SEAMEO RecFon has led several initiatives and programs in the area of food and nutrition, and even working with other regional centers in terms of health and sanitation, and also preconception to preschool age interventions from formal to non-formal education, together with SEAMEO units and partners to ensure that early childhood care and education is taken care of in Southeast Asia, and nutrition early care intervention is made available. Since the beginning of pandemic, SEAMEO Secretariat and RecFon and other units have come up with successful and efforts and initiatives to bring SEAMEO webinars to maximize quality education and learning during the pandemic, brought to you during this time using flexible learning modalities. But the importance of nutrition and food approach to enhance mental and physical health of children during the COVID-19 pandemic is equally important and was highlighted by the director himself, Dr. Mansour, in the webinar of Emotional Psychosocial Health during COVID-19 pandemic, which is our first SEAMEO webinar stage in April of this year. Moreover, SEAMEO Secretariat has also organized in collaboration with different partners embracing a new normal in early childhood care education with SEAMEO CESEP and experts from all over the region. Parenting, early childhood education with Center for Early Childhood Education Parenting on June 11, 2020. The first SEAMEO International Conference on Food and Nutrition is another landmark, an important step towards promoting initiatives in ECCE, and we hope that the exchange of knowledge using all the digital platforms now available, multimodal mode of communication using online, virtual, perhaps video presentations by our presenters, and all of these new modes of learning will be made available. And at this point, I take the honor to congratulate SEAMEO RecFon for this very, very good initiative. I would like to express my gratitude to all the participants for attending the first SEAMEO International Conference on Food and Nutrition today and for the next 2 days, and to continue to contribute to the progressive identification and development of more innovation towards enhanced, expanded, and quality ECCE. That means in the next few years, after this pandemic, we will have a stronger and better ECCE programs in Southeast Asia and even beyond. Congratulations to SEAMEO RecFon and to all our participants. Please hold on, stay with us. We will be learning a lot about ECCE food and nutrition and how we can develop policies, program interventions towards complete and more innovative ECCE programs in our region. Food and nutrition will always be an important component of SEAMEO program, SEAMEO agenda. So congratulations, thank you, and have a good day.
Thank you for your time, Dr. Ethel. Ladies and gentlemen, to officially open the conference and deliver the conference keynote speech about ensuring quality early life for productive human resources, the importance of early childhood care, nutrition, and education pre and post-pandemic, we are honored to have Professor Ainun Naim, Ph.D., the Secretary General of the Ministry of Education and Culture, Republic of Indonesia.
Afternoon. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. For the area in ASEAN, I think it's a good afternoon, and in Europe, good morning. So welcome to the first SEAMEO International Conference on Food and Nutrition. I hope you can enjoy the conference, and I would like to congratulate the organizer for successfully conducting this conference during or while we fight for the COVID-19 pandemic. The honorable guests, especially Director of SEAMEO Secretariat, Dr. Ethel, Director of SEAMEO RecFon, Dr. Mansur, all the speakers and participants of the first SEAMEO International Conference.
Because of the technical issues, we will move to the next session. We will wait for Professor Ainun Naim, Ph.D. We are trying to reconnect to him. For the participants, don't forget to mentioning @SEAMEO and please tweet your insights on our sessions. Don't forget to put hashtag #FirstICFN, hashtag virtual conference, and hashtag ECCE to win the prize. Bentar. Ada ide nggak, Mas?
Yeah, this is their participant apologize. Yeah, apologize for the technical problem because the connection of our Secretary General is not really good. Now it's interrupted. Then I will inform you all that ECCNE is one of our practice program. The other flagship program is Nutrition Goes to School. Early childhood care, nutrition, and education have been launched in 2018, and now there are some activities have been done, including the research, some research about the local food base among the early childhood, and also we have produced some modules for the training and education in this field, especially for the teachers and the parents who are really involved in early childhood care, nutrition, education. For this, we are happy because we have the youngest sister regional center that is called SEAMEO, Center of Early Childhood Care and Education and Parenting, SEAMEO CSEP. That we have the director here, Dr. Dewi Riono. Okay, I think I can continue with Prof. Ainun, please.
Pak Dr. Mustarudin, Pak Sestian mentioned that he still has a difficulties and recommend to continue the conference, Pak. Thank you.
Well,
Siapa?
Oh, I think Pak Sestian here. Apologize, Pak. Thank you.
Hello, Prof Ainun.
Mute.
I'm happy you are back. I just inserted some information about early childhood care nutrition education as one of our flagship program to the all participants. Assalamualaikum, Pak Sekjen.
Ya, waalaikumsalam. Mohon maaf ini nggak tahu internetnya putus. Ini saya pakai HP, pakai handphone.
Well, sorry, thank you, Pak Ainun. There is something happened in here about the internet connection. I apologize to all participants about that.
So can I continue? Hello?
Yes, Prof.
Yes,
Ainun.
Prof Ainun, please continue. Thank you.
Okay. Can you all hear my voice?
Clearly.
Yes, clearly, Prof.
Very clear.
Because in my mobile there is a sign that the microphone is off. It's kind of funny.
Well, yeah, it's okay. Okay, Prof.
Okay, so let me continue that with Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. By in the name of the God, Allah Almighty, I, together with all of you, officially open the first SEAMEO International Conference on Food and Nutrition. So, honorable guests, speakers, and all participants of this conference, first let me congratulate the organizer, SEAMEO REFCON, that has been successfully conducting this conference, even though we fight for the coronavirus pandemic. The second, I would like to mention that I like the theme of this conference, ensuring quality early life for productive human resources post-COVID-19 pandemic, updates on early childhood care, nutrition and education research, and program evaluation. The word post-pandemic show that we are very optimistic that we will go through the challenge of pandemic COVID-19. And that the early childhood education or early childhood development is very, very important. If we look at the development of a child, we all know that the first 1,000 days of life is very important. This is the period when the child is in the womb for 270 days and then developing the next periods. And this is the golden period where the brain also indicating the rapid physical growth, the beginning of the development of thinking skills, communication skills began to emerge, and the period of learning the ability to make friends
develop on the child. Because this is important, and Indonesia is a country which the population is still growing. This means that we have quite larger proportion of our population in the stage of this childhood golden age development. So our country Indonesia apply an integrative holistic early childhood development program, and we see that SEAMEO REFCON has an important role to implement this strategy, because we see this, the childhood development is very strategic. Then there is a presidential regulations number 20 year 2013, and this regulation has policies in terms of integrative holistic early childhood development is an effort to develop early childhood that is carried out to meet the essential needs of children who are diverse and interrelated simultaneously, systematically and integrated. And we implement this strategy through a number of segments, from investment in education, nutrition and health for the children, especially who are in the stage of the children development. The government of Indonesia initiated Holistic Integrative Early Childhood Development, or ACD, covering education, health, nutrition, care, nurturing, as well as protection and welfare. The provision of holistic integrative development and growth to children could determine their health, intelligence, and social maturity in the later stage. Ladies and gentlemen, and we see, or we have policies to put REFCON as a strategic institution, not only for Indonesia, but also for the ASEAN member states under the SEAMEO. The institution, I mean the SEAMEO REFCON, have a number of programs covering package of modules on early childhood care, nutrition, and education, and also formulates locally specific food-based recommendation for mothers and young children, and also conducts online training for ECE teachers to support the needs of capacity building. Now, I think we all understand that now we are facing a very challenging situation, and this is about the COVID-19 pandemic. Indonesia see the children and also, children education, early childhood education programs is very important and need special treatment. Now we have policies in terms of how the education services delivered. We have policies to maintain that our children continue to learn, or at least if there is a loss of learning, it will be very minimum. So we use a number of media from online communication into the TV or television and radio broadcasting, and many other alternatives, especially for those in the specific regions who lack of infrastructure. In terms of the physical interaction or opening the schools. We do it in stages. And for the early childhood education, we put them into the last stage. So we now start to open school selectively and very carefully. And those are only for the schools in the green and yellow area, and only for primary and secondary schools. For the early childhood education or kindergarten, we have not opened it yet, and it will scheduled at the last time after we are sure that the situation is safe for them. So the kindergarten will go to school after several months, after a couple of months, after we see that the situation is very safe for them. And of course, there are a number of checklists that we have to see in terms of health and safety to make sure that the school can be open. And in this situation, we deal with number of groups who have roles in education. We have specific programs for students, of course, teachers, of course, as education, there is always teachers and students. And now we also have programs for parents, because now parents have a greater role in students' learning. So we provide support for parents in terms of many things, including guidelines to teach the kids, and also providing them access to internet or data. Ladies and gentlemen, if we look at the programs that we do for facilitating early childhood education teachers in implementation of learning from home, this is provided in slide 16. We provide technical guidance for 5,100 ECE teachers in collaboration with 29 central units in 34 provinces. And this is affecting 102,000 ECE teachers who have online facilities. We also conduct webinars for ECE unit heads in collaboration with 29 central units in 34 provinces, targeting 10,200 ECE schools principals. And we provide ECE teachers guidance in collaboration with 60 partner organizations, targeting 4,800 ECE teachers in areas with difficult access, and also distributing animation and books to ECE teachers. So at the end, I will conclude that we see early childhood as a golden period that plays a significant role in the whole process of a child development. Integrative holistic early childhood development program in Indonesia has been set as an effort to develop early childhood to meet the essential needs of children who are diverse and interrelated simultaneously, systematically, and integrated. Holistic simulation services is essential, including education, health, nutrition, care, protection, and welfare services. SEAMEO REFCON's role in scaling up early childhood development in Southeast Asia region, including in Indonesia, underpins the sustainability of the work on early childhood development. Understanding the importance of early childhood education and the challenges during the COVID-19 pandemic, the government of Indonesia has been implementing education policy with popular concern on early childhood education. And the Ministry of Education and Culture has also been facilitating early childhood education teachers and the implementation of learning from home during the pandemic. Thank you very much and enjoy the conference.
Thank you, Professor Ainun, Ph.D, for officially opening our conference and delivering your keynote speech that mentioning the importance of nutrition in early life and how integrative holistic strategy could bring up a healthy generation. I hope our participants are getting more excited as we now come to our first plenary session with our distinguished speaker, Professor Paul Haggarty, the Deputy Director of the Rowett Institute of Nutrition and Health, University of Aberdeen. He will speak about a whole child approach, the importance of early life adversity on child biology and cognition. This session will be moderated by Dr. Umi Fahmida, a senior expert from SEAMEO RECFON. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Dr. Umi Fahmida.
Good afternoon. Selamat siang. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. So in line with the first international conference on food and nutrition of the SEAMEO RECFON with the theme of ensuring a quality early life for productive human resources, we have the privilege to start our plenaries with the key lecture from Prof. Paul Haggarty from Rowett Institute of Nutrition and Health, University of Aberdeen, UK, on the importance of early life adversity on child biology and cognitions. So Professor Haggarty has over 30 years experience working in the field of human nutrition. As you can see here, his research monthly for the diet and social determinants of healthy aging and the importance of early life events. And he has been also working a lot on the epigenetics and the effect of parental and early life factors on cognition and health. Professor Haggarty has served on UK Scientific Advisory Committee on Nutrition, also the working group on maternal health and nutrition, and chaired the 2019 UK SEAMEO report on saturated fats. He's also chairing the Biotechnology and Biological Science Research Council, BBSRC, for an integrated understanding of health strategies panel, and contributes to a cross-council initiative to bring together the social and biological sciences. So we will have 25 minutes presentation of Prof. Haggarty, followed by the QA. So I would like to remind everyone, our audience and honorable guests, to please mute during the presentations, and please put your questions on the QA, not on the chat, on the QA, and I will read out your questions later after the presentation of Prof. Haggarty. Okay, Paul, good very morning. This is still before 8 in UK. Can you hear us well?
Yes, I can hear you very well, Umi. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, very well, very clearly. And so We will help to show your slides. And time is yours, Paul.
Okay, thank you very much, Umi, and thank you to the organizers of this excellent conference. The topic is very important, and I was very interested to hear the presentation of the Secretary General on a number of things which are relevant to some of the issues I'm going to cover here. The importance of early life development, holistic approach, looking at lots of different factors, and the importance of education and cognition. So hopefully I'm going to bring some of those things together. And probably the reason why I'm talking to you today is because we're working with Umi on the Action Against Stunting Hub, which is funded by UK government. And I'm going to be talking about some of this area as relevant to the hub approach to action against stunting. So hopefully you'll see the relevance to your interests in country. Okay, next slide, please. Well, the first thing to say is that the WHO and we in the hub see malnutrition as a continuum. You have different manifestations of that. You have stunting, which is currently shamefully affecting 155 million children in the world, and wasting, which is another manifestation of malnutrition. And these often occur in the same populations, in different ratios. And here you can see a graph of stunting against wasting for the three participants in the hub. And you can see that stunting is more important in Indonesia, for example, and wasting is relatively more important in India. So the thinking is that there is this general continuum, and it manifests in this physical way in terms of stature. What we are interested in is the underlying biology below that, because we think that that's where the answer is. Next slide, please. So thinking about the long-term consequences, we know that stature is just one manifestation of a fundamentally altered biology that has important implications for physical and mental development and life chances. It's extraordinary when you take children who have been stunted and think about interventions which would work in high income settings. They can actually have adverse effects. And therefore, we have to be very careful about understanding the biology in order to tackle this question. Next slide, please. So we've come up with this concept of what you might think of as functional stunting. So basically, stunting has a very specific statistical definition in terms of where you are on the distribution for a population, and that's obviously an important physical problem that you have to deal with. But we're thinking that a change in the biology in response to that early insult, it has adverse long-term consequences associated with, but not limited to, reduced stature. So even the children on the right of the height for age distribution, they may be at risk if they're within a population that is experiencing significant stunting. If you could have the next slide, please. Okay, that's it. It's the same slide. It's just the next button. So the thinking here is that if you look at another outcome, for example, cognition, we're very interested in cognition. You will get this distribution of effects across the whole population, but it will be concentrated in the stunting children. So this is this idea about the consequences associated with, but not limited to, reduced stature. Next slide, please. And brain function is something that is very important. I give that example in the previous slide, and there's lots of evidence for thinking that this is something that you should be looking at when you're thinking about stunting. We know that severe episodes of malnutrition in the first year decrease cognitive ability in adulthood, with all kinds of significant consequences. Early malnutrition is also associated with a number of emotional and behavioral problems that persist into adulthood. And even you can see this physically when you look at the brains of stunted children. You can see that the physicality of it, the development of it is less than the well-nourished child. So there's a clear biology going on here. Next slide. And in societal terms, possibly nothing could be more important in terms of trying to improve outcomes around populations that are experiencing stunting. It's all about helping populations to help themselves. The brains of any population are the future. A well-nourished child is 1/3 more likely to escape poverty. They will learn better in school. They'll be healthier and grow to productive contributors to their economies. So there's this virtuous feedback between early health, cognition, economic growth. And good nutrition provides that brain power, the grey matter infrastructure that education can work on to build the economies of the future. So these are the reasons why we're so keen on this area, this particular outcome in relation to stunting. Next slide, please. So if any of you are familiar with the literature on stunting and the problems of stunting, you'll know that it's a very complicated problem. And you can see all of these factors that we know that are involved in it. And this is basically the bedrock of as deep as we can go in terms of understanding this. We just know that these factors are there. We don't really know how they all interact. And one of the key concepts of the Hub is that the problem and the solution lies in this complexity. We have to understand this complexity, thinking back to the Secretary General's comments on holistic approaches. This is what we need to think about. And what I'm going to talk about is a particular biological concept, which is really all about holistic approaches, and that is epigenetics. And I'll talk a little bit about the technicalities of that, what that really means, but it's essentially the distillation and the integration of all influences. It's a way in which all of these things can affect the human genome in ways that persist in later life. Next slide, please. So if we think about translating that complexity of interactions into the general hub approach, you can see, but this is the kind of thinking. So we've got all of these factors: nutrition, emotional stress, hygiene, environmental effects, and also parental life history, and I'll come back to this. They're all affecting stunting, the risks of stunting, and then there are various outcomes associated with that stunting that we are interested in. And then there are a series of interventions, nutritional interventions, microbiota interventions, education, food market, etc., to see if we can apply some factors that can change those outcomes. So that's the general hub approach. Next slide, please. So this is not a mistake. This is my attempt at a metaphor, which is a way of explaining something in a different way. In genetics, the genetic sequence AGCT is just that. It's just a sequence of letters. And next slide, please. And epigenetics, if you want to think about it in terms of a metaphor, this is the thing that converts those letters into syntax, into words, into punctuation. They give the meaning to the epigenetics gives the meaning to that information. And it's called epigenetic. It's a Greek word. Epi means on or over. And it's the information in the genome superimposed on the genetic information. And it tells us how, when, and where the sequence data is used. Next slide. And if some of you may be familiar with this field, others may not be familiar, but it is useful to kind of get an idea of approximately what we're talking about here. If we think about that sequence of letters, there are some in there that can be changed in this epigenetic way. And that happens in a cytosine, which is 5' to a guanosine. So if you get a C and a G together, you can either have that methylated or not methylated. So this adds this chemical group, CH3, onto that. And that has consequences. So this there is a way in which that change can have an effect on the function of the genome. So it's critical for genome function and gene regulation. So next slide, please. So if we think about how that affects things, it basically changes gene expression. So if you get these regions of the genome which are got lots of these C's and G's together, and they tend to be at promoters in genes or associated with promoters, so that when they are methylated, it's quite a complicated pattern, but when they're methylated, they tend to shut down the expression of that gene. So that's how that's the basic thinking of how methylation works. But it's actually much more general, much more important than that, because it can have long-term effects over the whole of the genome. So this is a very important mechanism at the level of the gene and the level of whole genome regulation. Next slide, please. So let's take it back to some specifics and think about the point made by the Secretary General about the importance of early development. And if we focus on that, there are some specific epigenetic marks and signatures that are very important at this time. And we are very, these are of great interest to people that are looking at things like stunting and early insults in development and the longer term consequences. On the left-hand side here, you've got a graphic of what happens in terms of methylation. So if it's high, it means if it's at the top of the graph, it means methylation is high, and if it's the bottom, it means methylation is low. And you can see that and this is about early development. So you've got primordial germ cells over here, and then the center of the graph is fertilization. And you can see that there are, round about this time, there are big waves of methylation and demethylation that go on, much more than happen in adult life. In adult life, things tend to be fairly stable once they've been established. So this very strong sensitivity, very strong pattern of change going on at this period has made people think that perhaps things that affect the process at this stage can have long-term consequences. And people have looked at animal models, and they've given things called methyl donors. So particular nutrients that donate methyl groups, B vitamins, choline, and changing the level of those intake in animal models, and they've looked at the consequences of that. And there are consequences. So there's a proof of principle here, if you like. If you had the next slide. So that proof of principle has now been largely established in human pregnancy and early development as well. This is an example of some of our work, but other people have reported similar effects, followed up on this, got replication of it. And this is thinking about maternal folic acid use in pregnancy, and this is after 12 weeks. So this is after it's actually recommended. And depending on whether the mother uses this, you can see changes in the epigenetic state of these imprinted genes, these genes that are affected by the early development. So we don't know what the consequences of these kind of effects are. They may be beneficial. We basically need to know more about what's going on with this. We need to understand the biology better. Next slide. So with this early period of development, there is this thing called a particular class of epigenetics called imprinting. And it's an important concept in terms of this early development issue, because the key characteristics of imprints is that they are affected by, they're set very early in development, even in the gametes and around about the period of fertilization. And that is important because they tend to persist after that. So if you can have an effect, if there is an effect of external factors on this process at this period, it can be fixed in the DNA, and it might have a longer term effect. And the characteristics of imprints are very interesting to us. They affect fetal growth, they affect brain development, they affect behavior. They're established before birth, and they're stable over decades, or at least some of them are stable over decades. And they're similar in multiple tissues, which is useful practically because it means that you can sample whatever tissue you can get. Next slide. And in terms of this issue about the cognition, the issue here is that we are able to pick up effects of imprinting methylation and cognitive ability. So this is some work in the UK that we've done, and there are again other cohorts that have been looked at it in the same way. So this is kind of analogous to what the hub is trying to do. It's looking at historical records, in this case, of children and their scores in mental health tests, mental survey tests, sorry, and general tests of cognitive ability. And we're relating this to the methylation pattern within the DNA decades later, so when they're in older ages. And so we can see changes associated with these scores and these cognitive tests in these imprinted genes that are known to be set very early on. So So this is also very important and very interesting to us when we're thinking about the hub. Next slide, please. And just before we move on to the next phase here, there is an important concept with epigenetics that kind of changes the way that we think about what's happening in early development, because half of the genome, half of the offspring genome comes from the father and half from the mother. And if we are thinking that there's some way that the early exposures in the mother can affect the offspring, then conceptually, there's no difference with the father as well. So it may be that the father is also important in terms of their nutritional status, etc., and how that affects the offspring health. We don't know about these things. There's lots of theoretical work out there, but it's important that we take this into account in the work that we're doing. Next slide. So I showed you this about the hub concept, and so this is the thinking. Next slide. And if we think about the offspring as all of these genes and epigenetic effects, so this is a representation of metabolic pathways here. Next slide. What the hub is looking for is effects that within this nexus of genes, within all the 20,000 human genes, we're applying techniques which are looking at this and then and looking to see whether they're associated with stature and growth, cognition, etc., and also looking to see which of the causal factors are changing these. Next slide. And just to reinforce that this is it's a hub concept. We're doing it in a low-income setting, but it's a universal concept. So it's just qualitatively different. But this is work in the UK, looking at early life, social status, nutrition. These are not as extreme as experienced by populations that are experiencing stunting, but conceptually they are the same. We know that these things are affecting birth outcome, anthropometry, metabolism. They're associated with these epigenetic changes, and so is the cognition. So this is why we're interested in this area. Next slide. And the hub will take up some of the work that we've been doing in Aberdeen, which is going deeper into the genomes. It's going deeper beyond these array type technologies and looking at next generation sequencing, etc. And you're actually going to hear a talk from Dwi Yanti tomorrow, I think tomorrow morning, who will be doing a PhD in this general area, looking at early nutrition and epigenetics and cognition. Next slide. And just finally, so we're talking about cognition and stature, etc. But there is a concept that's gathering momentum internationally, which is this concept of an epigenetic clock. And the thinking is that if you look at the left-hand side graph here, the number of cell divisions as life goes on increases. And the epigenetic signature is passed from one cell to another as you get these cell divisions. But the thinking is that somehow the biological age and the health trajectory is somehow encoded in that epigenetic information. And there are lots of papers now. This is an example of someone, one from a big proponent of this area, Steve Horvath, who has looked at the concept of looking at array type methylation data, mathematically converting that into a biological age. And these are now beginning to predict things like mortality, etc., And so there's a great deal of interest in this. Next slide. And the hub can begin to look at that in terms of this concept of stunting. You know, I mean, what's the effect of stunting on your epigenetic age? You know, can you change it? Can life chances, can they be modified? Can early adversity be reversed at the level of the epigenome? So these are all issues that, that we're very interested in. Next slide. And just finally, the promise of the epigenetic work is to produce a new kind of typology of you know, go beyond the physicality of the height, age, weight, those kind of things, and have this functional stunting looked at in deep biological terms. So with this, the hope is that we can predict functional stunting. So that's identify children and pregnancies already on the pathway to stunting to prioritize for early intervention. So that's very important in terms of changing things. Again, ameliorate or reverse the effects of functional stunting. So that's, can you develop interventions based on biological effects and use the biological type to predict the ability of a stunted child to respond to specific interventions. And finally, we want to avoid this functional stunting. And if we can see the pathway of causality from some of these factors or combinations of the factors experienced, how they change the biology and how that then has its effect on stunting, then maybe we can try to avoid the whole process in the first place. Next slide. Okay, so finally, I'd like to thank Secretary General there for a very interesting and excellent talk. Director of SEAMEO RegFon, and the Director of the Secretariat, the University of Indonesia, which I visited earlier this year and was very impressed with. And our funders and hub partners in these three countries, and specifically Indonesia for this presentation. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you very much, Paul, for the presentations, and I think it is a good opportunity to have more inputs from Paul. So we start with the question answer sessions. We already have two questions here. The first one is from Pak Arifin Ahmad from Indonesia, Paul. He asks, why stunting tends to be difficult to reduce in Indonesia? I think it's a question of most of us here in Indonesia, despite various efforts which have been made, whether the approach is wrong or is it related to genetics?
I think the difficulty in tackling stunting is a universal problem. It's not just Indonesia, but obviously you have a lot of experience of that. Basically, we don't understand it. We don't understand we don't understand why an intervention that will work in children that were, you know, maybe a bit underdeveloped in a high income setting, they can respond to a particular intervention. But if you do that in children that have been stunted, you may not get a response, or you may get an adverse response. So we really don't understand the deep biology, and that is really one of the aims of the hub, is to try and get into that.
Yeah, so indeed more research is needed, and also to integrate with more basic research. I think that's and I forgot to mention Prof. Haggarty is the deputy PI of this Action Against Stunting Hub, so which are working multidisciplinary, and in Indonesia, SEAMEO RegFon, also SEAMEO CCEP are involved, because we work throughout the range from epigenetics to also food and also education cognitions. There is a question also, Paul, about the when you presented the whole child approach, there is intervention on egg and symbiotic. One participant, Bu Widya, is asking, Bu Widya from Indonesia. Can you explain more about these two interventions which we have in our hub, the egg and the symbiotic?
Okay, so the egg is interesting because the nutrients that are provided by the egg are actually known to affect epigenetic states. There's quite a lot of work now that is showing that early intervention with egg may be important in cognition. And I know that you, Umi, in Indonesia are taking a particular approach of giving eggs to mothers. So that's an early intervention. Other parts of the hub are looking at other things. So I'll be very interested to see where your cohort goes with that. So we'll be looking at the epigenetics, the cognition, etc., in the children in response to that. And the symbiotic is, there's a lot of work now, particularly coming out of Bangladesh, which is looking at the microbiome in terms of stunting. And the symbiotic work is designed to try and change the microbiome in a way that makes it less characteristic of stunting. And that work is led by Professor Stephen Allen from University of Liverpool, who's working on the hub and working on the microbiome with Professor Alan Walker from University of Aberdeen.
Okay, Paul, I think it is interesting how from your studies, publications about this ABC, Aberdeen bird cohort. So you have the cohort from 1921, 1936, yeah, and then you follow up until the elderly. So maybe is there something that we can take from the studies, because you mentioned also some issues about the early life adversity, including maternal smoking, paternal alcohol, maternal stress, and also the effect may be modified also by the sex of the children.
Yeah, so there's a lot of work that has been going on with that cohort, and so for example, we've identified specific epigenetic signatures that may be indicative of embedding the early life effects within the epigenome. And we're hoping that the hub partners, yourself and the other partners, will take those regions and signals and measure them in your populations, because we are saying that this is universal, that this is not country specific, this is biology specific. So there is that, and there is also evidence, maybe not in the imprinted genes and maybe in other genes, that shows that early life emotional neglect, for example, there's a group in America, Moshe Schiff, is very strong on this. They've looked at emotional life effects that change the epigenome. Alcohol consumption is another one that changes the epigenome. So there's all this evidence out there that you can draw on in your work in Indonesia.
Yeah, and it is interesting for me that the maternal stress has more effect on the boys, yeah, because of this cross. And another question, Paul, from Pak Hari Susanto, also from Indonesia. He asks why early malnutrition is associated with emotional and behavioral problems that lies into adulthood. So early malnutrition and behavioral problems in the adulthood.
Okay, it's very difficult in this kind of research to absolutely, if it's observational, it's very difficult to absolutely establish this, because the same situation will probably persist throughout life, but the same environmental situation. But but we know that there are physical changes to the brain. You know, I mean, you can do the MRI, you can do the cognitive tests, etc., and the emotional tests, and you can actually pick these things up. So, so we know that that happens. There's already an explanation in terms of the physical development of the brain.
Yeah, but indeed there is evidence that yeah, it is because from the studies that follow from childhood to adulthood, even elderly, it is like brought about from the childhood to adulthood. So maybe when we talk about epigenetics, is in one of the paper you mentioned that actually the imprints are stable once set. Maybe you can explain. It's like there are some things that we can modify given the food, given the nutrients, given the stress, but there are things that once established, stable, it is set, it cannot be changed. Maybe more to elaborate on this.
Yeah, so the epigenome is a very complicated and massive information space. in the genome, there's a great deal of information that is captured in the epigenetic signatures. Now, they behave differently. Some of them change very rapidly in response to maybe eating food. So if a gene is upregulated or downregulated, you'll see that in the epigenetic status. And then there are other regions of the genome. Only about maybe 1% of the human genome is coding for genes. You know, the other 90% has mostly things like repeat elements in there, and they behave in a different way again. So they gradually change with age. And then you get other particular regions, imprinted genes. That's about a couple of percent of all of your genes, and they don't all behave the same way, but a lot of them are stable once they're set. So if you continue to look at them throughout life, they stay the same within an individual. There's variation between people, but they tend to stay the same, and they tend to stay the same within families. So it tends to be related. So there's this interplay between genetics and epigenetics, but the key thing about the imprints is that they are affected by early life factors, and then they're relatively stable, which is exactly what you're interested in when you're thinking about early life effects.
Okay, so yeah, I think a lot to explore in this area indeed, and what the Action Against Stunting Hub is trying to do is also to explore this mechanism from the epigenetics, also genetics, to inform earlier, as you said, predict functional stunting. Yeah. Children who are at risk or in the trajectory of stunting, and we know now that also stunting is not only about being stature, but also delayed development and cognition. I think time is up for our session, and I think I will not summarize. This is really a very explorative area yet, and just to highlight your key points, I think in the last slide, Paul highlight that in this whole child approach, we hope that we will be able to predict functional stunting, looking at the early biomarker of children who may be in the trajectory of stunting, and knowing this typology of stunting may help to address better, as one of the audience asked, how we can make it more effective for stunting reduction in Indonesia and also many other countries also in the world. And I think it is all our commitment to avoid stunting in both physical and cognitions. And I hope this highlight how the basic and the translation research can work together to help better in our achievement to reduce stunting. So thank you very much, Paul, for very insightful presentations, and thank you all for your questions, audience, and I give the time back to the MC, Sasa. Have a good day, good afternoon, and also good morning, Paul, and also Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Paul and Dr. Umi, for the insightful session. Thank you too to our participants for your interesting questions. We would like to inform you again that we will be tweeting live our event through our Twitter account at SEAMEO. Please tweet your experience in joining this conference by mentioning at SEAMEO, and don't forget to put hashtag #FirstICFN, hashtag virtual conference, and hashtag ECCE. Like I said earlier, there will be a prize awaiting the person who will give the best comment on Twitter. Kindly tweet your insights or the main points discussed by our plenary speakers, or the summary of a particular plenary session if you want to win the prize. And please stay tuned to our YouTube channel SEAMEO until the last day of the conference for the announcement of the winner. We are now moving on to the second plenary session, focusing on the impact of COVID-19 pandemic on stunting alleviation program in Southeast Asia and its adverse effects on child biology and cognition. This session will be moderated by Grace Wangge, MD, Ph.D., Knowledge Management and Policy Support Unit Manager from SEAMEO. This session will feature perspectives and experiences from Indonesia that will be delivered by Dr. Hera Nurlita, from Laos that will be covered by Dr. Chandavone Phoxay, and last but not the least, from Myanmar that will be delivered by Dr. Hlaing. Now, we invite Grace Wangge, MD, Ph.D. to take over the session.
Thank you so much, Sasa, for the kind introduction. I would like to say hello to all the participants, either the one who's in Zoom or the one who already logged in YouTube since 1 p.m. Welcome, and welcome in this special session where we have all-female, the only all-female plenary session for this conference. Without further ado, I would like to introduce three great women. These three women are scientists and also policymakers in their respective country. So on the first session, we will have Dr. Hera Nurlita. She is now working in the Directorate of Public Health Nutrition, MOH Indonesia, and she is graduated from Universitas Gadjah Mada in Yogyakarta for her bachelor and master. And for the doctoral degree, she graduated actually from Universitas Indonesia, joining the program also hosted by SEAMEO. And our second speaker came from Laos, and she's actually the Deputy Permanent Secretary Cabinet Ministry from Laos PDR, Dr. Chandavone Phoxay, and she's trained as a pediatrician, and also currently holding a position in the Secretariat of National Nutrition Committee, San Lao Country Focal Point. And the third speaker will be Dr. Hlaing. So Dr. Hlaing is also have a medical degree and an MPH from Myanmar. And she actually, for her doctorate degree, she graduated from Universitas Indonesia, also in the same program as Dr. Hera. So I won't block you from these three great female speakers. So I will start by checking Dr. Hera Nurlita. Are you already online?
Yeah, Dr. Grace. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. And I see you already wear your beautiful mask there. So if you're ready, we're going to start with your presentations, and later the audience can ask questions either through the Q&A function in Zoom or through YouTube chat. Yeah, and then I I will read again the questions for the speaker. So make sure you mention your name, your country, and to whom are you going to address these questions. Okay, Dr. Hera, the time is yours. The time is 15 minutes.
Thank you very much, Dr. Grace.
Ibu Hera, are you still there? So we already see Dr. Hera's slides, and the title is Stunting Alleviation Program in Indonesia Amidst COVID-19 Pandemic and the Projected Impact of Program Success. So apparently today there will be a high traffic of, usually in Jakarta we have a high traffic of cars, but I think today we have high traffic of conference, yeah, because it's quite busy. This also happened with Prof. Naim just now. So yeah, so we're still waiting for Dr. Hera. So while waiting, I will also ask to say hello to Dr. Chandavone. Are you there? Dr. Chandavone and Dr. Hlaing from Laos and Myanmar?
Yes, I'm here, Pak.
Yeah, Dr. Hlaing is already on the line. And Dr. Chandavone? Okay. Is Dr. Hera already online? Yeah, it's quite far where I'm sitting now with Dr. Hera, about 5 kilometers. But it requires more than 4G, I think, to reach Dr. Hera. Or Dr. Hlaing, do you mind if we start with your presentation? Or Dr. Chandavone, probably?
Do you hear me?
Yes, very clear, Dr. Chandavone.
Yes.
You see your face and the beautiful picture behind you.
Thank you.
So do you want to start the presentation first while we're waiting for Dr.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, I can start.
Thank you so much. So we're going to start with Dr. Chandavone first from Laos, and she will bring us the experience of Stunting Alleviation Program during the COVID-19 pandemic.
Okay. So good afternoon, everyone. And may I present the impact of COVID-19 pandemic on Stunting Alleviation Program in Laos PDR. Next, please. Next, please. Next, please. Yes. In the past 10 years, back to the, in the past 10 years, the high level of political commitment at all levels, including national, operational, and local level, have resulted on significant reduction of stunting rate of children under 5 from 44% on 2012 to 33% in 2017. Next, please. However, the stunting rate is still high. 1 in 3 children under 5 are stunted. And 11 out of 18 provinces stunting rate over 30%, which is alarming, is critical. And nearly 60,000 children under 5 suffer from severe acute malnutrition. And Laos have also faced with a triple burden of malnutrition. Malnutrition has been exacerbated by COVID-19 outbreak and challenged to achieve stunting rate by 25% in 2025. And by 2030, target of ending all form of malnutrition of ASEAN Health Leader Declaration. Next, please. What impact on maternal and child nutrition in Laos? There are a disruption of routine essential health and nutrition services and micronutrient supplementation, like a drop of coverage of the first 1,000 days of life services, including antenatal care, daily and weekly iron folic acid supplementation for pregnant and reproductive age women, vitamin A and deworming supplementation for children under 5, and vaccination as well as child well-being services. Health workforce and budget limited. 30% reduction of the total budget. And maternal and children reluctant to come to health facility due to they are afraid of contamination of COVID-19. And few shortage of a few maternal and child nutrition commodity due to soaring price of export product and lockdown transportation interrupted. Maternal and child nutrition have been aggravated by COVID-19 outbreak. Next, please. What have been adjusted on nutrition program in Laos? I just clarify into 3 phases. The first phase during the lockdown from March to June, the most of the working at home, that from home, but using the IT communication. But although we have lockdown and working at home, but we have done editing and finalizing of tools and guidelines, and which has developed and pending before lockdown. So like we finalized the guideline of nutrition promotion in workplace, in school, in community. And we finalized the term of reference for establishment of the Laos National Nutrition Association. And we developing of the IEC material and SBCC material as well. But the phase after lockdown, we have the boosting in strengthening governance. For instance, we have the human capacity development at the national level. We have seminar and training, conducting seminar and training on leadership, program management, as well as food contents. And for the strengthening of operational level, especially we have the order of the boost implementation of the nutrition and MCH. What does it mean, the boost? Is boost implementation means prioritization of the program, the so-called integrated nutrition and maternal and child health services, not fragmented, so integration, because of we have limited of the resources. And the second is focus on geographical area with low coverage, the so-called zone 2 and zone 3, which hard to reach and far from health facility area, and provide the integrated maternal and nutrition services. So we cannot do fragmented, and we cannot do outreach and mobile clinic in every single village. So we just focus. And the next about providing of health education, social behavioral change, and communication in cross-nation. For the next, please. For the phase since beginning of outbreak until now. So we have very strong, especially in terms of the adjustment of the multi-sectoral coordination at all levels, including we have the National Nutrition Committee in the national level and in provincial level. And the committee is still functioning and continuing collaboration. And we just have the meeting of the National Nutrition Committee in June in order to reviewing of the implementation nutrition program and also see the impact and give some direction. So, and the next about the OEC, this and EOC, sorry. EOC is Emergency Operational Center. They have meeting daily base to respond to COVID-19 and its related issue, including nutrition. So this multi-sectoral and multi-stakeholder platform. And the next is about the steering committee, a weekly based meeting at the ministry level. And for the OEC is also at the national and provincial level. And the next is about the information technology communication in every time, in everywhere. So this using for reporting and surveillance, as well as for give some sharing of the information and order or degree or other things. Next, please. The measure to avert the long-lasting impact of the pandemic in Laos, I could summarize that we turn the crisis to opportunity for strengthening healthcare system in Laos PDR, which highlight 5 things. Firstly, strengthening governance at all levels, including nurture and continuing high political will and commitment at all levels, and continuing effective the multi-stakeholder and multi-sectoral collaboration and coordination. And the second about the strengthening technical capacity. So we have made the guideline and tools on nutrition available. And the thirdly is about the strengthening of service delivery. Service delivery, including, as I mentioned, boost implementation, prioritization of integrated maternal and nutrition services, and focusing geographical area with low coverage. And fourthly is strengthening monitoring, supervision, and evaluation. So this became the routine of the communication through through IT, every time, everywhere, daily, monthly, daily, weekly, and monthly base. So even we have the conference, like a teleconference with the subnational level. So this became the adjustment that observably is good for this system. And lastly, but not least, is about nurture community ownership. So now people know about nutrition and know about COVID-19. So they improve their health by their own, improve nutrition on their own, and they know about the health impact and nutrition impact. So that's, thank you for your attention. Hello. Hello.
Yes.
I cannot hear you.
Saya masih mute.
Okay, now.
Okay. Sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, so it's miscommunication sometimes. So thank you, Dr. Chandavone, for your presentation. It's 12 minutes, so it's just about, I'm going to remind you what your 3 minutes limit, but then you already finished, so it's okay.
Okay.
So next we already have Dr. Hera Nurlita from Ministry of Health Indonesia. So the time is yours, Dr. Hera, for enlightening us with the experience from Indonesia.
Thank you, Dr. Grace. I'm sorry because the trouble. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and greetings. Good afternoon. Next slide. Next. Okay, my presentation is going to present in the 4 topics. Next. Distinguished guests, Indonesia has made significant progress in terms of reduction nutrition problems. However, we know 27.7 stunting prevalence is still in category of community health problem with large regional disparity. According to the basic health survey data, the prevalence of maternal anemia and adulthood obesity increased between 2013 and 2018. The condition is solved by half of pregnant women suffering from anemia. At the same time, poor metabolic health such as obesity and diabetes increase. Next. Ladies and gentlemen, next. Next. Okay. As we know, a good nutrition is essential for individual. No, back to the slide 3, slide 4. I'm sorry. The operator is faster, I think. Okay, thank you. I want to show to all of you, even the total energy intake quality of Indonesia has been elevating. Unfortunately, food consumption pattern in Indonesia is not balanced because consumption fruit and vegetable is less and higher of prepared food and beverage consumption. This condition make our people inadequate intake may reduce immune system and may be a greater risk of severe illness due to the virus. Next. Government of Indonesia realized that investing the Indonesian people will ensure that our country continue to prosper. One of the key investment is a good nutrition. Stunting prevention and reduction through multiple intervention and multi-sector approach. The commitment from Government of Indonesia assigned stunting as priority in 2020 and to 2024 medium term. The stunting reduction target in 2024 is 14%. It means Indonesia should work harder to realize it because we should reducing 3% per year. It's very hard. Next. Next. Next.
Is this the correct slide, Dr. Hera?
Okay. A strategic and sustainable effort at a significant scale is vital to drive down stunting rates in Indonesia. Is now determined to turn the tide against stunting by adopting a clear, coordinated and cohesive approach across the whole of government and society. including improvement in intervention specific and sensitive, focusing throughout 1,000 days of first life. Next. The government has made a strong commitment to accelerate the fight against stunting. The stunting strategy now provides a platform for effort to converge around the same goal locally and nationally. Integrated activity intervention carry out multi-sector conducting through 8 interventions, and every step of activity coordinated with the specific sector, not only by the health sector. In this case, the role of local government is very important to embody.
Dr. Hera, maybe it is help if you turn off the video, your video, because I think there is a delay. We still try to connect to Dr. Hera, because I think there's a delay when her view is reaching her and the voice is in synchronized. So again, we lost her. I hope we still get her points on what we have done in Indonesia during the COVID-19 pandemics in terms of stunting prevention efforts. Okay, we're going to wait until another 15 seconds. If Dr. Hera cannot connect anymore, I will ask, maybe we're going to look first the experience from Myanmar from Dr. Hlaing. So we're gonna wait for a few seconds. Please bear with me. Yeah, maybe later we can have more questions and answer session for Dr. Hera, because we're still waiting, and I think we just start with Dr. Hlaing. So we're going to hear the experience from Myanmar first. Will that be okay, Dr. Hlaing?
Okay, so I will start share my presentation, yeah?
Yeah, so Dr. Hlaing is, because he's going to school in Indonesia, I found it very warm if you call Mbak, yeah? So may I call you back Mbak Hlaing then? Yeah, sure. So, Dr. Hlaing, so this is the time is yours. Maybe we can hear first the share from Myanmar.
Okay. The slide. Can you see the slide?
Yes, we can see the slide now, but it's not in the presentation mode. It's still in the PowerPoint mode.
How is it now?
Yeah. It's very good now. We can see it clearly. Yes. So you can start. The time is 15 minutes.
Okay. Thank you, everyone who are joining from online for this first SEAMEO International Conference on Food and Nutrition. Let me share with you the Myanmar experience on multi-sectoral nutrition response in the context of COVID-19 pandemic. So my presentation will touch upon the brief country profile and the nutrition situation of children under 5 years of age in the country, and our effort on multi-sectoral National Plan of Action on Nutrition, we call it MSN-PAN, and the current COVID-19 situation inside the country and how we come up with multi-sectoral nutrition response during the context of the pandemic. So this slide shows the brief country profile based on the provisional results of intercensal survey conducted in 2019. We have 54 54.5 million total population with an annual growth rate of 0.88%. So let me continue with the nutritional status of children under 5 years of age in the country. In this figure, the blue bars represent the findings from 2009-10 multiple indicator cluster survey, and the red bars are from 2015-16 Myanmar Demographic and Health Survey, and the green bars are the results from Myanmar Micronutrient and Food Consumption Survey, the latest micronutrient survey in the country. So you all can see that all the indicators of undernutrition among these children, like anemia, stunting, underweight, and wasting, the figures were declining. But you can see that still 1 in 3 children, 1 in 4 of them, 1 in 3 under 5 children are suffering from anemia. 1 out of 4 are stunted due to chronic undernutrition. 1 in 5 are still having underweight, and nearly 7% of them are suffering from acute malnutrition. And we all know that the underlying causes of those undernutrition problems are multidimensional and multifaceted in nature. So we have to be aware that in tackling the underlying causes of those malnutrition problems, single sector effort alone may not be enough. It's really called for effort from multi-sectoral and coordinated effort on solving those nutrition problems. With that, Myanmar, I might say we were quite lucky to have the political commitment and support from the high level. On January 2017, the State Councillor, Her Excellency Do Aung San Suu Kyi, led the first ever cross-ministry coordination meeting on national nutrition strategy. In that meeting, the concerned ministries from nutrition, at least 5 ministries, the union ministers from 5 ministries were involved together with the development and the UN organizations who are working in nutrition. In that high-level meeting, the State Councillor highlighted that nutrition is the foundation for a country's development. And when we implement the nutrition activities, all concerned ministries and development partners should collaborate and contribute to the effort from Ministry of Health and Sports. Previously, people think that nutrition is just a matter or just a business of health ministry, but it is no more the case. Now people more realize based on the highlight and guidance from the high level, as well as the more aware of the multidimensional nature of undernutrition. The political leaders also highlighted that our activities should be prioritized based on community needs. So following those instructions and guidance from the high level, we try to establish the multi-sectoral coordination bodies on nutrition, not only at the union level, but also at the sub-national level. Here you can see that the Nutrition Promotion Steering Committee, in which the union ministers from Ministry of Health and Sports, Agriculture, Livestock and Irrigation, Education, Social Welfare, Relief and Resettlement, and Natural Resources and Environmental Conservation, and the representative from Ministry of Planning, Finance and Industry were involved. So it's the same for a sub-national level, in which the Chief Minister from sub-national level government led those Nutrition Promotion Committee. With the effort from NNC, National Nutrition Center, together with the development partners, we are now serving as the secretariat group to support those high-level multi-sectoral nutrition bodies. In addition to that, all those concerned ministries try our best effort to develop the multi-sectoral National Plan of Action on Nutrition, we call it MSN-PAN, to move forward to serve as the blueprint for the country's effort, multi-sectoral effort on solving nutrition problems. The overall goal of this MSN-PAN is to reduce all forms of malnutrition in mothers, children, and adolescent girls. And we set the expected outcomes to be contributed by each and every sectors. For example, like from the health ministry, we have to increase the utilization of nutrition-related services and optimal nutrition behavior among pregnant and lactating women, children, and adolescent girls. While from the education sectors, all students, especially girls, should complete their secondary education, and they should be well-nourished and equipped with the knowledge of optimal nutrition behavior. Agricultural sector has to ensure that regular access and consumption of safe and diverse food. And social protection sector, the outcome is nutritionally vulnerable population groups should benefit from social and relief assistance and nutrition promotion. In addition to the expected outcomes from each and every ministry, we also set out the outcomes for coordination and monitoring and evaluation to ensure that the coordination should be functioning and effective at all levels, and also for quality nutrition data to be available and used to enable the program decision. With that, MSMPN, the union level plan was developed, finalized, and endorsed by all the concerned ministries by end of 2018. And last year, we tried to kick off the plan to roll out over all states or regions. But in the phase 1, we have prioritized 9 out of 17 states or regions based on the nutritional status of those subnational level. Out of those 9 states or regions, we have already kicked off and rolled out for the subnational level planning in 5 states or regions. While we are trying to kick off our effort to expansion of the plan over the country, we found out the first case of COVID-19 in the country in March 2020. So the same as other countries, we have overcome in the first wave of COVID-19. Within previous 5 months, we have encountered around 500 confirmed cases of COVID-19. But similar to other countries, our neighboring countries, we are now facing with the second wave of the pandemic. So starting from August, within 1 month, we found more than 1,000 new confirmed cases. As of today, this morning, in Myanmar, we have 1,800 confirmed cases and 12 deaths as of this morning. So we all can see that same with other countries, our colleagues, neighboring countries, we have to make the movement restriction and lockdown in responding or containing the pandemic. So these containment procedure, movement restriction and lockdown, we found that we are facing that economic constraint and also some of the impact on nutrition, which can be direct and indirect impact on the food security and nutrition. So in addition to that, our routine nutrition, essential nutrition services are also somehow disrupted due to movement restriction. And from the beneficiary side as well, they are afraid of coming to the health facility, being afraid of the getting infected from the diseases. So for that, we cannot just stop being afraid of the pandemic. So we need to be smart to make use of our existing platform and tools that we have in hand, which is the MSMPAN, Multi-Sectoral National Plan of Action on Nutrition. So by nature, MSMPAN is a multi-sectoral platform for nutrition activities among government and non-government actors. On the other hand, COVID-19 also called for multi-sectoral responses, as you all well know very clearly. So the MSMPAN was designed to converge the key interventions across the different sectors, which can mitigate the direct and indirect impact of the pandemic on food security and nutrition. So the MSMPAN, we have prioritized to the vulnerable communities and vulnerable geographic areas, which indeed those population, those vulnerable areas are more likely to suffer from the pandemic itself as well. So we have to be smart that to make use of our available platform and blueprint for multi-sectoral response in responding to COVID-19 pandemic. As you all well know that optimal nutrition is the essential component for achieving the sustainable development goals. We also aware that there are direct and indirect impact of the pandemic on food security and nutrition. And when we see the conceptual framework for malnutrition during the context of COVID-19, the basic causes, underlying causes, and immediate causes for impact of COVID-19 on malnutrition, which is pretty much similar on the concept that we have focused and considered when for National Plan of Action on Nutrition. So we have to make use of that conceptual approach by responding to COVID-19 through the multi-sectoral effort. At the same time, Myanmar has developed the COVID Economic Relief Plan from the Ministry of Planning, Finance and Industry together with the Central Bank of Myanmar. This CERP is serve as a platform that allies the contribution of the different sectors with the specific focus on incentivizing the investment by the private sector. Major goal is to minimize the impact of COVID-19 on the economic impact on the country. So with that, each and every sectors, we have identified the prioritized interventions under MSM PAN in adaptation to COVID-19 context. For example, Ministry of Health and Sports, we provide the multiple micronutrient supplementation for pregnant women in coordination with the cash assistance from the Ministry of Social, and when they provide the cash provision to beneficiary people and also for the pregnant women together with their maternal and child cash transfer program. So it's the same for each and every sector. We have identified that prioritized intervention and MSM ban in adaptation to COVID-19. With that, each and every sector, we have identified the short-term, medium-term, and long-term intervention in responding to COVID-19. While we all are concentrating to containment of the disease and the spread of the disease, we shouldn't forget the importance of nutrition in the community, because we all know that having the optimal nutritional status among the community is by boosting their immune status can prevent them from spreading the infection. Even the person is affected, if he or she is well nourished, then he can fight the disease against the proper immune system. So we have to give those messages to the community. So we have identified those short-term, medium-term, and long-term intervention for the responding nutrition in the context of COVID-19. Let me share with you.
You have 3 more
Sorry?
minutes. You have 3 more minutes.
Thank you. So Ministry of Health and Sports, we were quite innovative in providing our services to the community, like nutrition education by using the social media. This is the Facebook page of the Ministry of Health and Sports, as well as the Facebook page from our center, National Nutrition Center. We provide the key nutrition messages to the community, especially for in the context of COVID-19, how people should eat, how to breastfeed, and also providing the essential health and nutrition services, following the social distancing measures in containment of the disease, and the other sectors as well. Ministry of Social Welfare, they provide the cash assistance to the vulnerable population and pregnant women, and also for capacity building of smallholder farmers to ensure their food availability and accessibility. At the same time, provision of food assistance, especially in the community facility quarantine center. So with that, we will move forward to ensure more coordination among the government and non-government together with our partners on MSMPN activities in adaptation to COVID-19. We will also initiate the MSMPN implementation following the preventive measure for COVID-19. We have to keep in mind that while we are trying to flatten the disease curve, we have to ensure that the socio-economic curve will not be flattened to prevent the impact of COVID-19 on food security and nutritional status of our people. And we also have to ensure that the documentation of our best practices, challenges, and lessons learned for sharing with the neighboring countries. With that, I'd like to end up my presentation, and thank you so much for your kind attention.
Thank you so much, Dr. Hlaing. Exactly 15 minutes. So I will try the third time because people said third time is a charm. So I will call again Dr. Hera Nurlita. If you're already online.
Yeah, okay, thank you, Dr. Grace. Maybe
yeah.
I don't...
Because we are talking about nutrition, and Dr. Hlaing's nutrition will boost immune system. So to boost discussion, I will ask Dr. Hera to give her key points of her presentations, and then we go directly to audience questions.
Okay.
So going, okay.
Thank you. Maybe this is the key point. I want everybody know that we are to ensure nutrition program even in the context of COVID. Indonesia provides some new approach to existing activity have been developed, such as leverage innovation digital system to increase the capacity of health worker, counseling, and education. We provide Gizi Berseri is one of nutrition information serial public health services for nutritionists and influencers. The event was moderated by Directorate of Public Health Nutrition. And the second one is we always keep doing home visiting services for sick children, wasting and stunting according to the modification protocol provision. And the third is provision food supplementation for vulnerable people and cash transfer to our as a social responsibility response. And the third one is increase the utilization of mother and child health handbook as a tool for growth monitoring, because we know that Posyandu and Puskesmas or healthy services are not open. And we try to continuously record and report all activity through electronic reporting. And last activity we do to overcome nutrition problem in remote area, border, and the island throughout Indonesia. We do distribution health worker go through Nusantara Sehat program in locus stunting area. Next. I want to show you that nutrition service we make innovation or several modification conduct through innovation digital delivery system and complying with protocol of health and regional policy in every area. Its service protocol has been prepared according to the target group based on life cycle. And Directorate of Nutrition develops some guidelines and infographics material that you can download in the bit.ly Pedoman Gizi Masyarakat. Maybe that's what I can share to all of you. Keep thinking positively. I think the COVID is, we must see the visible challenge to future improve the innovative nutrition program designed to be more efficient, effective in the implementation in the national wide. Thank you, Dr. Grace, and Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam. Thank you, Dr. Hera, for your key points. So we already have all the presenters present their work. So Dr. Hera Nurlita from Ministry of Health Indonesia, Dr. Chandavone from Laos, and Dr. Hlaing from Myanmar. So we're going to take questions from the audience. So already a lot of questions coming in the Zoom chat and also in YouTube chat, I think. So can we see the screen of Dr. Hlaing and Dr. Chandavone? I think because Dr. Hera have a low bandwidth, so we will keep her screen mute. Yeah, so we already have Dr. Chandavone and Dr. Hlaing. So there's a first question for Dr. Chandavone and Dr. Hlaing actually. It's from Mrs. Ariana Asri from Nutrition International. She asks, she's interested to learn whether adolescents' nutrition is included as priority approach to address stunting in Laos and Myanmar. If so, how has it been adjusted in this pandemic? So she's asking about adolescent nutrition, whether it's one of your strategy in terms of alleviating stunting and whether it's changed during this pandemic. Maybe I'll give the floor first to Dr. Chandavone to share the experience in Laos. You need to unmute yourself, Dr. Chandavone.
Do you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. For the question, thank you for question. Do we address the adolescents' nutrition in Laos? Right? The question is, and how? I think, of course, we address, especially we also have we call NPAN, the National Nutrition Action Plan. from 16 to 20. And in that action plan, now we are implementing the last year of the implementation of NPEN. And in that also we emphasize on the 1,000, the first 1,000 days, and including of the adolescents. However, it is not very clear, very emphasized on the adolescents in the last NPEN. So now we know that through the LC's result, LC survey into 2015, and we found that the early pregnancy and adolescent health and adolescent nutrition is intergenerations, and we have very high on that. So that now we are under developing or reviewing of the NPEN from 2021 to 2025. So it's ongoing. Therefore, we already put the adolescents is one of the priority. That means the NPEN for next 5 years will be focused on age and all life, including first 1,000 days and also adolescents and reproductive age and men and women and aged people. So we emphasize on that. And the implementation is we start go to the workplace and we collaborate. Actually, we have already collaborated with the Laos Youth Unions in order to deliver of the nutrition promotion at community and target for the women's, including adolescents and pregnant women in the community. So we go to the also workplace and have nutrition promotion activity in the factory, in the workplace, and even in the school. That is a Laos experience, yes.
And how about during this pandemic, Dr. Chandavone? Is it still going on, or how do you do it in the factories? And
so during the pandemic, so we finalized, actually before we have already implemented some of the trial of our guideline, and now we hope we have finalized, and we work with the Burn Food Program and have some business network and go to some factory for doing of the nutrition promotion. Okay.
Yes. Okay. Thank you, Dr. Hlaing. You want to share the experience in Myanmar?
Yes. For adolescent nutrition, Myanmar, we already have as a routine program for adolescent iron folate supplementation under the program of iron deficiency anemia prevention and control program. But we couldn't cover all the adolescent girls, but adolescent school girls only. So we are providing biweekly iron folate supplementation to adolescent girls from the junior, senior high school throughout the country. And starting from 2016-17 academic year, we also provided from the school health unit, we also provided the deworming as an integrated deworming program for anemia control program. Under our multi-sectoral national plan of action on nutrition, MSMPN, one of the target priority group is adolescent girls, of course, as its overall goal mentioned that. So adolescent girls are as one of the target priority group in the MSMPN. But in the context of COVID-19, under MSMPN, we provide continuous supplementation, micronutrient supplementation for those adolescent girls. And we also include the intervention, priority intervention for promoting healthy diet and proper dietary habit among those adolescent students. But in the context of COVID-19, we have to admit that the interventions in the school, because we just focus on the school at this stage, the schools in the country are now closed in responding to COVID. So at the moment, we cannot provide any intervention for adolescent girls at this stage right now, as the schools are closed, and our target is right now is only the adolescent school girls. Thank you. Over to you.
Okay, so it was a hold for a while, yeah, Dr. Hlaing. Is there any plan for continuing soon, or?
We will. And MSMPN already set the priority as adolescent as the priority group.
Yeah, thank you. So I will go to the next question. The next question is still for Dr. Chandavone from Laos. So there is a question from the research team of ASIPAGI from the Ministry of Health of Indonesia. They think Laos is already successful in overcoming the problem of stunting during the COVID-19 pandemic. So do you have any tips for Indonesia? That's the first question. And the second question is come from Vidya. She asked Dr. Chandavone, when you provide health education and communication across the country, do you have any tips to make it more effective? How people in Laos doing an effective education delivery across the country during this pandemic? That's the two questions, Dr. Chandavone.
Yes, thank you. Yeah. For the first question, so the how to reducing of the stunting during the COVID-19. You said that our successful. Actually, it is not successful yet. I mean, the past 10 years we success of reduction of the stunting rate from about 11% from 44 in 2012 to 33 in 2017. And now still our challenge of reducing of the stunting, because it's still 1 in 3 children under 5 suffer from that. And also 11, as I mentioned, 11 out of 18 provinces has over 30%, has a rate of stunting over 30%. So it is still our challenge. And also during the COVID-19 outbreak, they have many interruptions, as I already mentioned. So I would not say this is successful of the stunting reduction during COVID-19 outbreak. Just clarify on that. But anyway, we still had some lesson learned during the outbreak and until now is as I emphasized about the multi-sectoral coordination, which have already in place in Laos for the National Nutrition Platform. We call the National Nutrition Committee, and we established since 2013 in which chaired by Vice Prime Minister, and until now, and we have every year we have twice been meeting a year, and we invite the governor and also at the provincial level we have the Provincial Nutrition Committee. So we have this kind of multi-sectoral coordination platform for nutrition since 2013 until now, and continuing and effectively continuing of the and in addition to that, for the COVID-19 response, we have also have we call the emergency operational center, which are also multi-sectoral. I think it's similar to the National Nutrition Platform. However, it adds other sector including there. And our His Excellency Prime Minister is very, very active and very, how to say, pay attention, very high political view on this, so that we have the experience for the multi-sectoral platform on nutrition, and also the EOC platform, like a multi-sectoral, including different partner together in the EOC at the national and also provincial level. So my first tip is multi-sectoral coordination and multi-sectoral collaboration and multi-sectoral response on COVID-19 and nutrition during the outbreak, and until now it is our lesson learned from Laos PDR. For the second question about tip, how the question is how effective what
we going to deliver the health education.
How effective of deliver of I think the international information technology is very useful. Sometimes people also share the information together through the IT, through mobile, through smartphone. I think even in the official, not yet how to say release, not yet declared, but the information sharing through the social media already and already reached to the community. And in addition to that, of course, sometimes it is a real information, but sometimes it's not real. It's the wrong information. So we have the center to control, to monitor about the information that we sharing to the through social media is a real or is a fake. So we have the center for monitoring and for controlling and for clarify something if a question be by society. And also we have the tool, we have the material for similar to our colleague Myanmar. We have the deliver of the guidance and simple guidance for response COVID-19 and nutrition. So we have developed the guidelines. Yes, over to you.
Thank you, Dr. Chandavone. Maybe because of the concern of time, I have last question actually for Dr. Hlaing. It's actually a question from Repa Kustipia and also actually my personal questions. How did you do a monitoring and evaluation in your country during this pandemic for the nutritional program? Because everything sometimes have to be done online, or sometimes because of the bad connection, you cannot actually even conduct it online. So can you share your experience there, Dr. Hlaing?
This is a million question, Grace. So, as even in the routine situation, the information management system is a bit headache for us, because getting the valid and accurate data from the program is always a challenge. I believe it is a universal challenge. So in the context of COVID-19, in specific to the MSM-BAN, we are still in the stage of establishing the MNE system for MSM-BAN specific, but we are using the routine health management information system. But in this context, still the system is at the grassroots level, at the villages and ward level. We are still using the paper-based form and submitted to the township level, at which we use the electronic data entry. And from that, we submitted to the state or region or province level up to the central level. I can see the question from the delegate about the SAM internet connection, but it is not just about the MSM-BAN. Some other issues that are limiting to the internet connection access. So if I may say that we are still to maximize our best effort to get the routine information system. It is not much affected due to COVID specific, but maybe some other issues which is not really relevant to the COVID-19. Thank you, over to you.
Yes, so maybe in related to that, I will ask Dr. Hera the same question actually. So what is the experience in Indonesia? How did you do conduct the monitoring evaluation? I mean, you already have a lot of programs, I see, then you already have a lot of webinars also for the health officers. Can Dr. Hera add something to that in terms of monitoring evaluation, and also maybe any guideline that can be applied?
Yes, thank you, Dr. Grace. During COVID, we still do the continuously record and make a report to monitoring system using electronic report. That's the way to get to us to good monitoring what happened and to know the condition of nutrition status in Indonesia, because we cannot receive the manual record again. That's what we do is strengthening the report and record using electronic reporting. We always do and collecting health services from every province every month to meeting in the Zoom to give the reporting and monitoring condition in every province. That we always do every month regularly. And for the other activity, I think we still do the activities nutrition monitoring and nutrition services during pandemic only comply with protocol of health. And for the protocol, we have provide some information using guideline and infographics, and you can download the infographics and the guideline in the address that we put on the PPT. Maybe that's information I can share to all of you.
Yes, thank you. I think we will, if you don't mind, you can actually tweet the link. We will do that, I think, to help the Indonesians health workers if they want to see the information from the Ministry of Health.
Okay.
Yeah. So with that, I would like to thank all the female speakers of today, Dr. Chandavone from Laos, Dr. Hlaing from Myanmar, and Dr. Hera Nurlita from Indonesia. Thank you so much. I think we already highlighted the importance of nutrition during combating this pandemic, and we should include the issue of nutrition in the space as a part of special task force. I think that's one of the key points that I saw from Laos and Myanmar. It's not just how we're going to prevent infection, but how we're going to prevent further malnutrition. With that, I would like to close this session. Thank you so much for all the participants. Do not forget to wear your mask, keep the safe distance, and wash your hands frequently. Thank you. I'll give it back
Thank
to
you.
the MC.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you to our speakers and moderator for the wonderful discussion, which ends our second plenary session for today. Ladies and gentlemen, we hope that you have started tweeting your experiences being in our conference through SEAMEO Recon Twitter account. You may become the winner of the best comment and take home a special prize at the end of our conference. To win the best social media comment on Twitter, please tweet your main insights on the plenary sessions or main points discussed by our speakers or summary of a plenary session. Don't forget to mention @SEAMEO and don't forget to put hashtag #FirstICFN, hashtag virtual conference, and hashtag ECCE. Let's move to our third plenary session on food system and food security post-COVID-19 pandemic in the Asian region. That will be moderated by Helda Kusun, Ph.D., a senior expert from SEAMEO Recon. The speaker in this session include Assistant Professor Kitty Sranacharompong, who will discuss food system and nutrition during the COVID-19 pandemic, and Dr. Aladin Dirilo, the Deputy Secretary General for Asian Economic Community, who will speak about ASEAN and food security. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our moderator, Dr. Helda Kusun.
Okay, thank you, Sasa, the pretty MC for today. Yeah. So thank you everyone for still being there. Yeah. So this is the last session of today. I'm sure you still have all the energy to listen to the wonderful speakers, our wonderful speaker for this session. But may I remind you that this is the last session for today, but this is not the last plenary for the conference. We will have the fourth plenary next Friday. So make sure that all of you will also join the next plenary on Friday. Yeah. Okay, so in this session, we understand that since early this year, we have been faced with this pandemic, which forces us to change the way we do business. Yeah, our life was greatly affected. We face lockdown and movement restrictions, which not only affected people's behavior, but also the general economy. We have seen economic contraction in many parts of the world, including in the Southeast Asian countries. This economic growth contraction and movement restriction have also an impact to our food system and food security. So to understand the changes this pandemic has made toward our food system and food security, we have now with us two experts in this field who will enlighten us on the food system and food security during this COVID-19 pandemic. So we are honored that today we have Professor Kitty Stranacharunpong. Professor Kitty has worked at the Institute of Nutrition, Mahidol University. He has his bachelor and master's degree in nutrition science from Mahidol University, and he graduated his PhD in applied health sciences from the School of Public Health and Health System at the University of Waterloo in Canada, continuing with the postdoctoral fellow in environmental nutrition at Loma Linda University in California. Prof. Kitty has a research interest on public health, nutrition, and health promotion. He was the key person who developed the Thai food-based dietary guidelines and also will help the Laos Ministry of Health to develop their own FBDG based on Laos national consumption data. So I would like to say hello to Prof. Kitty. Hello, Prof. Kitty. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
We also very honored today to have also the second speaker, Dr. Aladin De Rilo. I hope I pronounced that correctly, Dr. Rilo. Dr. Rilo is the Deputy Secretary General for ASEAN Economic Community, who supports the Secretary General of ASEAN by providing leadership in the implementation of ASEAN Economic Blueprint 2025. Before assuming to this role, Dr. Rilo was senior economist with the Asian Development Bank in Tokyo. Dr. Rilo holds PhD and master degrees from the University of Hawaii and his bachelor degree in economics from the Ateneo de Manila University. So basically, Dr. Rilo is an economist, so it's going to be interesting for us to hear the economics perspective on the food security. Dr. Rilo has written and published extensively on the Asian economy and on the broader economic and finance issue. So good afternoon, Dr. Rilo.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Thank you for joining us for both speakers. So without further ado, before that, so I would like to mention that altogether we will have 40 minutes for the session, 45 minutes for the session. Each speakers will have 15 minutes for presentation, and then we will have 15 minutes for question and answer. And everyone, please listen attentively and then post the question, your question on the question and answer box, and mention your name and institution when you post the question. So without further ado, I would like to invite Prof. Kitty to deliver his talk. Please, Prof. Kitty.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dr. Hera. And could you please show my slide? The slide.
Yes. Yes. Okay. Please, the committee in the stage. Could you show the slide? Let's wait for the committee to, yes. Okay, the slide is on.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. And first of all, I would like to thank you, the organizing committee, to invite me to share the experience of about the food system and nutrition during the COVID-19 pandemics. Next, please. Next, yeah, next, please. This one, okay. And this figure, I would like to remind you, about the cases that start in this year. This is the report from World Health Organization's website. And the first case that report by the WHO in China start in January 2020 this year. And when we know about the case, in Thailand as well. In Thailand may be the second country that we face that problem, and many stakeholders or many people in our country try to do their best to solve that problem. And for the food security and nutrition, maybe they're concerned, but they might put in the priorities. Next, please. And this is the data that I update in September 6, 2020. And the data is confirmed the COVID-19 cases and the death in Asian country. And you see the case of the COVID-19 and the death increasing over time and day by day. We don't know how, right now we just know how to control the disease, but it cannot stop at all. And then, another problem that we face is about the food and nutrition. That maybe for this PowerPoint, I would like to focus on the children in Thailand, how to solve or how to support them. Next slide, please. And this is about the COVID-19 and food system. And when we know about the pandemic, it might be challenging to us right now. And we need to tackle all of the food security and the food security and nutrition in dimension of the crisis. Maybe we cannot just take a look only one aspect to solve that problem. And the measure of the COVID-19 outbreak is already affected to the global food supply crisis, because we have to lock down or to close the borders, and we didn't allow the people to go out. It might be the problem during, as I remember in March, we start to lock down and set the regulation for the Thai people to stay at home. And I think we don't know at that time how to do or how to stay in the normal life. We have to adapt, and we try to learn the new keyword, new normals. And then for the outbreak, before the outbreak, we know about the 820 million people face the problem of the food insecurity already. But when we have the COVID-19 problems, I think it's more than 800 million people still face the food insecurity. And the outbreak, my research and my work focus on the children, and more than 20% of the children and teenagers around the world face the problem of the COVID-19 and food system. And next slide, please. This is I would like to let the audience to understand a little bit of the possible impact of the COVID-19 pandemic on the food system. This figure I adapt from my research that I did in Loma Linda University in 2011. And then, this figure, it can make the people understand more, because, the previous time that we faced the problem about the climate change. And then I try to link two worlds together, the national world and the world of the consumer. Take a look at the left-hand side about the national world. We have to produce food for the consumer demand. And then when we produce food, some food item have to go to the food system. It means the food have to be processed, have to be transported, have to be storage, or have to be to distribute to the retailers. Or some food can produce some waste as well. When the farmers produce food, for sure it can produce waste as well. The solid and gas waste, and it might be the cause of the climate change. And then I try to link the problem of the climate change. It might be we know already about the low production of the yield, and then it's come to the problem of the food insecurities. And when we face the problem of the COVID-19, some of the system, the food system, it might be broke, or it might be the problem. For example, farmer cannot produce the food, and the example in Thailand, the farmer cannot come across the the province. Sometimes they have the farm in another province and they cannot go and the product might be damaged. And then another word, I mean, we know because we are the nutritionists. Right now we face two problems: under and overnutrition, and the COVID-19 may be affect to the people who are hungers, and then it might be affect to the people who are obese as well or overweight. Next slide, please. Next, please. Yes, and this is I try to give you understand about the Thailand case, about the vulnerable group, that I would like to focus on the children and take a look at the nutritional status. In Thailand case, I mean the COVID-19 in Thailand and the most country, we have to do the proactive, the school closure. Because as I remember, we closed the school in Thailand in March until in July, because we don't know how to protect our children, right? And we just know some, some diseases, infectious diseases that can transmit to the children. But for the new virus of the COVID-19, we try to do our best. And I think when we closed the school, some people didn't agree with that strategy by the government. And because we want to keep the children safe and the community safe, we don't know that children can transfer the disease to their parents or the elderly in their family or not. But the medical doctor tried to convey the information to their parents, and we have to stay at the new normal to let the children stay at home and try to use e-learning. And then what next that we face about the COVID-19, we try to, without the scientific guidelines, we don't know how to keep the children at home, how long. And then sometimes we have to understand about the policy, and then it might be effective or necessary for the COVID-19 pandemic for the student and community or not. This is might be we have to do the research or might need to study more. Next, please. And this is maybe I would like to mention this figure about the children, that how to why children and nutrition status affected by the COVID-19. You have to take a look at the outbreak. It's the COVID-19 outbreak, and the school closed around 5 months in March to June, in July. And if the student have to go to the school, they have to have free of charge for lunch and meal program that's supported by the government. And this is the national program that we support for all of the primary school, the primary school children. And the budget is around $140 per student per 200 days per year. And the energy distribution for the school lunch and meal program is contribute around 30 to 40 of the total energy. What happens next if we close the school? Some children cannot access to the food. The problem that I guess when we open the school again in July, but it's not fully open, just open some day, and then right now we open already. And then when I interviewed some parents or some students in my research project, or measure the weight and height, we face some students might face the problem of underweight. However, sometimes, on the other hand, the overweight might be faced to the children as well. Stunting for sure. Because we didn't see this the stunting problem change a lot, because it's quite just only 5 months, but in the long term, I'm not sure. And then maybe we have to consider about the food environment as well, about the availability, accessibility, affordability, and price. because some family member of the children lost the job and they cannot earn some income to buy some food. And why some children could, might be the overweight because they didn't have some healthy food that similar to the lunch or the meal when they go to the school. They have to, they're looking for the junk. when I interview them, most of them eat instant noodle or the beverage, the sweet beverage at home. And I don't know, this is the happened during the COVID-19 pandemics in Thailand. Next, please. And this is another survey in from the IHPP Ministry of Public Health in Thailand. This survey in 9 slums in Bangkok with the low-income family about the food security during the COVID-19. They did the survey with 900 people. And some question is related to the food insecurity. It's quite interesting. 50% of the people, they told us they earn income per day less than the price or the cost of the food that they have to buy. 22% of the people reduce at least one meal per day. And around 28% of the people rely on the food donation during that times because we lack of the food and food gone very fast at the supermarket or anywhere else, including the mask or alcohol gel or anything else related to the COVID crisis. And when we take a look at, another question about the food group that they cannot afford or they cannot eat that because of the price or they cannot find that. 65% reduce to eat seafood and products. 52% they reduce to eat meat and meat products. And 47% they reduce to eat fruit and vegetable. This is we concern because of the aspect of the nutritionist. And it's quite interesting result. This is from the Ministry of Public Health that they have the short survey. Next slide, please.
Prof. your time is 3 minutes more.
Okay. And this is the example for the short solution in Thailand for the student. The teacher and the health volunteer is might be the key person who can help us. For example, we have to set the schedule for the teacher to visit home for the student. Not just only visit, they have to bring some food for them as well. Another, next question, please. Next one, yeah. And this is another kind of the example in Thailand that happened. We have we call the community pantry campaigns. It's quite not new. It's quite new in Thailand, but it's not new in the Western country. Because this is, I don't know when they start this campaign, but they just like the pandemic as well. Just pop up in one community and is distributed in another community in Thailand so fast. It's called, some people have this, some food left, they have to put in the cupboard. And another one can pick up for free. And another example, if someone can have some money to buy, but they cannot go out, the mobile groceries might be another choice for them. The photo, one photo is come from Chiang Mai in Thailand, another one from Myanmar that I got from the internet. Next, please. However, for this pandemic, I'm not sure when will be end. But for the recommendation for us, I would like to suggest not just only to do the garden. Maybe we have to use the empty space of the community to grow food and vegetable. Or maybe we can raise the chicken or hen or anything else for the communities. And another thing, we have to use the community participatory approaches to ensure the food security. For example, we have to educate them to keep the forest, don't destroy the forest, because sometimes in the forest, it's just like look like the supermarket. And then right now, the insect in the forest is disappearing in Thailand. But if the people concerned some this point, maybe they can keep their food for any crisis. And another one that I learned from the former kings, Lama the Nine, King Bhumibol, he taught us a lot about sufficiency economic philosophy, that I believe this philosophy can solve or can solve the long-term problems. Next, please. I mean, I have no time to give the detail about this philosophy. You can, if you're interested, I can send the books to you. Thank you for your listening.
Okay, thank you so much, Prof. Kitty, for the inspiring talk. So Prof. Kitty has, Prof. Kitty has explained to us about the impact of the pandemic toward the food system, from production, transport, and distribution, which impacted the already food insecure population we have already. And also in terms of school health, it is also has an impact on the nutritional status of the school children, because in Thailand, 30 to 40% of the total energy is actually coming from school food meal, especially toward the vulnerable children.
Yeah.
So thank you, Prof. Kitty. So we will move toward the second speaker, Dr. Rilo. So the time, you may have the time to start the talk. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Helda. First, I would like to thank the organizers for the invitation, and I'm very pleased to be part of this conference. And I really like the topic of this session on food security, because for me, this is an important issue in ASEAN right now, because this current pandemic has, as we all know, has disrupted global and regional value chains, including the food supply chains, which has very important implications on food security. That's why I'm very glad that we're focusing on this this topic in this session. So for my presentation, next slide, please. I'm going to talk about issues on food security in ASEAN, as well as the existing regional cooperation on food security. And also I will touch upon the different initiatives in the region on food security, including the current response by ASEAN to the COVID-19 pandemic. Next slide, please.
Excuse me, Dr. Rilo, we haven't seen the slide yet. So
oh, really?
Can the
sorry about that.
help to show the slide? Oh,
is it showing now, yeah. Dr. Helda?
Yes, it is showing now, but not
okay,
yet in the slide presentation. Can you make it slide? Yes.
Okay, can we go to the previous slide first?
Yes.
Go ahead. Okay, let me talk about food security in general within the context of ASEAN. I think, as we all know, food security is a very complex issue. It is not only about the ability to provide sufficient quantities of food, but as well as it is about how food is being utilized effectively through adequate diet, clean water, sanitation, or health care. And finally, it is about having stable access to adequate all the time, regardless of any shocks or adverse events such as this pandemic. So in short, food security has to be, would imply that food has to be available, accessible, fully utilized, and stable to achieve food security. Next slide, please. But of course, achieving food security is not easy, as we all know. I always look at food security as a development issue. And it is also something that is affected by a lot of factors, including, for example, economic business cycles and market volatility. For example, we've seen how volatile commodity prices during the global financial crisis in 2008 have caused food prices to spiral and threaten food security as a result. I think this price instability may be the reason why commodity producing countries like some countries in ASEAN have become more vulnerable also to food insecurity. For example, in 2018, more than 10% of ASEAN population remained undernourished, mainly because of limited access to food. I think all of this suggests, again, the prevalence of food insecurity problem in our region. Next slide, please. Recognizing this problem, our leaders during the summit in 2009 have made a very strong commitment to embrace food security as a permanent and high policy priority. During that summit in 2009, the leaders adopted the very first ASEAN integrated food security framework, and as well as the strategic action plan to implement the framework. This declaration signifies the start of a long-standing commitment by ASEAN to promote food security in the region. So basically, the framework identifies a set of measures to ensure long-term food security and nutrition and improve the livelihoods of farmers in ASEAN. This is achieved through different objectives related to increasing food production and productivity by promoting market and trade and ensuring food stability and safety. And as you can see from the slide here, the framework consists of 5 components that also are being supported by different activities, including the establishment of functional regional food reserve security, establishment of integrated food security information system, the development of agro-based and food regional supply chains, as well as the promotion of climate smart agriculture. Next slide, please. As I mentioned earlier, since the summit in 2009, the region has been embracing food security as an important policy commitment. And this is very much evident by a number of key documents that have been developed in the region to address food security issues. And in this slide, you can see that we have documents related to the development of strategic plan of action and food security. We also have a cooperation framework for enhancing cross-sectoral coordination in food security, as well as the development of a multi-sectoral approach to achieve food and nutrition security in the region. And most recently is the statement by our agricultural ministers to achieve food security in response to the COVID-19 pandemic. Next slide, please. Here I would like to emphasize that food security is not just an issue within the region, but this is very much a part of market integration in ASEAN, particularly under the ASEAN Economic Community. Under the ASEAN Economic Community Blueprint, for example, the emphasis is on promoting deeper integration of food, agriculture, and forestry sector. And this is very much supported by a number of strategic measures, as you can see on the screen, from increasing agricultural production, enhancing trade facilitation, increasing resilience to climate change, as well as improvement and productivity. Again, all of these measures are intended to support food security in ASEAN. Next slide, please. As mentioned earlier also, food security is a complex issue. It is affected by a number of factors, including climate change, transboundary diseases, information and availability of commodities, as well as how effective the cross-coordination of issues has been undertaken. And depending on the outcomes of this interaction of these different factors, the results can either promote or undermine the attainment of food security. I think this is the reason why within ASEAN, we're taking a more holistic approach in addressing food security in the region by implementing different initiatives across different sectors to ensure sustainable supply of sufficient food in the region. Next slide, please. So let me now talk about the different initiatives in the region to promote food security. One important initiative in ASEAN right now is the development of cooperation framework to address cross-cutting and multi-factor nature of food security. Under this framework, and as you can see on the slide, areas of cooperation, joint activities with different agencies have been developed and integrated action to effectively address food security issues in ASEAN. And these joint efforts include resource mobilization for food security projects and advocacy, as well as public awareness to increase awareness on food security and nutrition in the region. The second initiative here is the development of multi-sectoral framework for climate change and food and nutrition security in line with the SDGs. Under this framework, ASEAN is developing strategies to address climate change-related issues in food, agriculture, and forestry sectors. It is also intended to identify dimensions in food security to be enhanced by the different strategies. Again, all of these are intended to focus on climate change impacts that can undermine food and nutrition security and the attainment of SDGs in ASEAN. The third initiative is what we call the ASEAN Food Security Information System, or AFSIS. This initiative was established back in 2002 to provide policymakers in ASEAN access to food security information and analysis so that policymakers are better equipped to better understand food security issues in the region. In addition to sharing data, this framework also conducts capacity building programs to enhance the capacity of policymakers in developing and implementing effective food security policies in the region. Another initiative in the region, if you can go to this slide, is on the ASEAN +3 Emergency Rice Reserve Agreement. This agreement was established in 2011 and is intended mainly to contribute to food security in the region through the following means. One is by earmarking certain quantity of rice based on voluntary decision. And secondly, by providing regular decision on policies and programs related to rice reserve and food security. Finally, an important initiative also in the region is this ASEAN Food Security Reserve Board, or FSRB. This board has been established mainly to review, monitor, and evaluate food security situation globally and within the region and among individual countries in ASEAN. This is made possible by focusing on a number of priority areas, and currently there are 3 areas of priority. One is on the exchange of information on national food policies, particularly rice. The second priority is the conduct of periodic evaluation of food situation and prospects in ASEAN and worldwide. The reports are being disseminated to all ASEAN countries. And the third priority here is the examination of policy actions to assure adequate supplies of basic food commodities, particularly rice. Let me end my presentation by discussing about what ASEAN right now is doing to support food security amid the current COVID-19 pandemic. As we all know, this pandemic is a crisis like no other. It has disrupted our regional and food supply chains. And this has, as I mentioned earlier, has very important implication on food security. So last April, our ministers from agriculture and forestry have issued a statement that tried to emphasize or promote the commitment of ASEAN to minimize disruptions in regional food supply chains. Another important statement made by the agricultural ministers is to reduce excessive price stability, particularly any possibility of spikes in prices that might undermine the availability of food in the region. And also the ministers recognize the need to undertake a periodic evaluation of the food situation and prospects in the ASEAN region, as well as worldwide. In addition to this, ASEAN right now is also working with different partners in the region to ensure food security amid the COVID-19 pandemic. One important initiative is with AFO on the establishment of the ASEAN Seed Bank to ensure self-reliant, resilient, and sustainable agriculture in ASEAN through food security as a means of food security. Another important initiative here is with the Canadian Trade and Investment Facility for Development. Currently, a study is being conducted on COVID-19 pandemic implication on food and agricultural sectors, primarily to be able to identify the impact of COVID-19 on food and agricultural trade in ASEAN countries, including the impact of this pandemic on specific sectors like the women. Finally, ASEAN Secretariat, or ASEAN in general, is also engaging with the Economic Research Institute for ASEAN and East Asia in developing this study on enhancing food supply chain and food security in ASEAN within the context of COVID-19. So in conclusion, the important issue right now in the region, of course, is to overcome this pandemic as well as to mitigate the impacts of this pandemic on the region. And one important area that we're currently looking at is the extent by which food security is being affected by the current pandemic. And it is for this reason that the leaders during the last summit in June have emphasized the importance of keeping our markets open for trade and investment, including, of course, investment in the agricultural sector, as well as in ensuring that the flow of essential goods like food will remain open. So our personal assessment of the situation here is that if the pandemics continue to create all these negative impacts in the region, it will definitely also affect the food security situation in ASEAN. Therefore, it is important that ASEAN continues to remain committed to promoting food security as well as ensuring that food insecurity issue in ASEAN is adequately addressed. So this is my presentation, Madam Chair, and thank you so much for your attention.
Okay. Thank you so much, Dr. Rilo, for the presentation. We understand now from the presentation so many initiatives already has been done by the ASEAN Integrated Food Security Framework, both long-term and short-term food security initiatives. And also there are a lot of framework or a lot of initiative on regional cooperation on food security. And indeed, this pandemic has impacted the food security and impacted the food system in terms of the availability, the access, utilization, and stability. We have now already several questions from the floor for both speakers. The first question is from Lestari Octavia from Indonesia. This is for Professor Kitty, for Prof. Kitty. From your survey, it seems that the number of group that has the adverse food security impact is increasing. For the country that count on import, do you have any advice on how to settle this problem? Probably this one could also goes to Dr. Rilo also, because some countries is not having food sufficiency, so to say. So Prof. Kitty and Dr. Rilo maybe can answer how country who has count on import settle the problem of food insecurity in terms of this pandemic, in times of this pandemic.
Okay, may I respond this question first? Yes. I think in Thailand it might be the lucky country that we can produce some commodity and to feed our populations, and just some food item that we have to export to the other country. And when we face the pandemic, the COVID pandemics, for the first time in March, I think we try to make the consciousness about our populations, because they feel nervous and they feel how to solve that problem. They have to storage the food, and I think just a few weeks, the government tried to solve that problem. They try to negotiate or to discuss with the food industry, because we don't want to face that problem so long. And I understand the government that try to set the priority to solve the problem. First, they want to control the disease and to do the treatment for the patient who infect the disease already, and then try to cross the border of the Thailand. And I think another example that I saw in my country, we have to exchange the food. For example, in the south, they can produce the seafood. They have to exchange the food with the rice in the northeastern. They don't need to spend the money. This is another kind of the strategy that I saw in my country. And the last one, the government, give the money to the low-income family people to spend the money. I'm not sure how much is it because I didn't get that money. And then, for the food security in Thailand, we just have some problem of some food item. For example, food and vegetable, because it might be the commodity in the seasons. And for the protein sources, we try to exchange with another kind of the food item that we have in the country already. This is my answer.
Okay, thank you, Prof. Kitty. Dr. Rilo, do you have any comment on this question?
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Helda. If you look at the current pandemic right now, one important impact or adverse impact, of this pandemic is on supply chain, right? Exactly. We all recognize the disruption on supply chain connectivity resulting from this pandemic, and that includes, of course, agricultural supply chain. Exactly. Therefore, within the region, the priority right now is to make sure that our markets, including markets for agricultural goods, will continue to remain open. And the way to do that within the region is to make sure that supply chain connectivity remains intact. And at the same time, we want to make sure that the flow of goods within the region, will also continue to be open. Mm-hmm. I think this can be achieved in two ways. One is by ensuring, for example, that agricultural countries or countries that export and import, for example, agricultural goods, would refrain from imposing any restrictions on their exports, Okay. Secondly, countries have to also make sure that they're able to address what we call as the non-tariff barriers that would actually impede the flow of these agricultural goods. So, and right now within the region, our economic ministers also, as well as the agricultural ministers, have adopted what we call as this plan of action on strengthening economic cooperation and supply chain connectivity. And an important component of this plan of action is to make sure that agricultural goods, which are considered essential goods, are able to move freely within the region. I think we need to recognize as well that at ASEAN, one important priority in the region is to make sure that there is a free flow of goods and services, and that includes definitely agriculture. Therefore, countries that suffer some restriction in terms of importation would be able to be assisted, in terms of addressing some of the non-tariff barriers that affect the agricultural trade. Okay. Thank you, Ibu.
Okay, so in this case, ensuring the efficient food system within the region to run smoothly, Dr. Rilo, So there is another question from Dr. Jess Fernandez to Dr. Rilo. Could you share with us specific nutrition-related program of ASEAN within the context of food security in the region, especially during this pandemic period? Is there any specific nutrition-related programs of ASEAN within the context of food security? And also maybe it is related to the next question from Dr. Ade Wiratnyani from Indonesia as well, whether or not there is specific effort have done or plan to engage youth in ASEAN to contribute to improve or promoting the food security. The question goes to Dr. Rilo.
Thank you so much, Dr. Helda. I think within ASEAN right now, we have this strategic framework and action plan for nutrition from 2018 to 2030. And under this framework, we have identified a number of priorities or activities to be able to implement the framework. And these include, for example, the development of guidelines and minimum standards for the protection, promotion, and support of breastfeeding, complementary feeding to implement this initiative. There are also actions or programs on ASEAN Food and Nutrition Security Report, as well as the establishment of ASEAN Nutrition Surveillance System. So all of these programs are currently in place right now. There are activities that support these priorities. And the priority for the region right now is ensuring that there is really adequate provisions for human security, including, of course, the food security, and that is also, I think, covering areas related to nutrition. Thank you, Ibu.
Okay. Next, Dr. Rilo, another question from Ibu Ade is there any effort have been done or planned to engage youth in ASEAN to contribute to promoting food security?
There are also within the region initiatives on youth development, and we recognize here that this engagement by the youth is not only limited, for example, in one area, right? The engagement of youth is I think more can be considered as cross-cutting, so they can be engaging in activities related to agriculture and even economic. But just to emphasize here that youth development is an important priority in ASEAN, and there are a number of activities on how to engage the youth in different sectors, including in agriculture.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Rilo. Another question for Prof. Kitty. Prof. Kitty, there is one question from Ibu Dwinastiti from Indonesia, asking the Thai government experience in ensuring food supply in high cases area because due to lockdown and physical distancing, which may close the agriculture or industry with high manpower. How is the Thai government strategies ensure the food supply in this high cases area?
Okay, I think for this question, maybe I would like to focus on the vulnerable group. I mean, the student maybe and elderly as well. But for the student that I familiar with them, I think for the Thai government, when they can solve the problem of how to control the disease, and then they want to support the student who need some food when they stay at home. For example, as I show in the slide, the teacher have to visit them, and for the previous time we don't know how to set the schedule for the teacher or the health volunteer to visit some children at home, and what the activity that we have to do with them. For example, when we close the school for 5 months, we have to we have to imagine they have nothing to eat at home in the rural area. And for the meal program, that normally we have to let them drink milk every day, and the family cannot afford to buy some milk for them for the children. And I involved in the policy. Just some policy related to the nutrition, and we have to set what kind of the food item that the teacher have to bring and how many times per month, and then they have to record the food items, because we want to know. We don't know what next about the another disease might be pandemic again. We have to learn from this COVID. It might be a good opportunity for us to evaluate. And then another thing that I worry about, not just only for the nutrition status of the student, when they stay at home, they might addict to the technology, to the games. And we try to protect or to prevent this, this problem. And when they stay at home long times, they addict to the cell phone, play the games, and including, when we have to start with, for them to learn by e-learning, right? We have to make the balance and to discuss or to talk with their parents, because sometimes in the rural area, the parents didn't understand as well. And when I assess the child development, we still have the problem with the children under 5 years old.
Okay, Prof. Kitty. Hello?
Yes, hello, yeah.
Okay, thank you, Prof. Kitty. Prof. Kitty, there is one other question. This is last question from Ibu Kitty and Susanti. Also asking for the Thai government experience during this pandemic. What form of nutrition campaigns are still being carried out in Thailand during this?
The campaign, I think not just only from the government, because I didn't see the campaign. Some campaign is come from the community, because the people in the community, normally we are the Buddhist. I think they help. They help each other a lot to share the food. Sometimes they donate, and then the government just to do something. To give the money for the poor people. And then for the campaign that I saw, and it might be sustained, they just donate the food. If you stay at home long times and you didn't have any food to eat, and your committee member know, they just bring food to you. And this is the real campaign. I think from the government, I see not just the real one. It might be good for us. The campaign from the committee is might be good for us, because we try to solve the problem with their family. With their committee member, and then the government just support something. If we're waiting for the government support everything, I think we don't know what next. We don't know what happens, right? Because the government try to set the priority first, and maybe the food and nutrition might be the third or the fourth ranking for when they want to solve. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much, Prof. Kitty. There are still a lot of questions. Unfortunately, we ran out of time. Many interesting and important questions actually, but some already been explained by Dr. Rilo regarding the ASEAN roadmap of food to ensure food security. There are already a roadmap explained by Dr. Rilo, and then also in terms of community, there is the after, Dr. Rilo, for the rice, the after agreement for ensuring the community, ensuring the food security in terms of rice commodity. So we have a very inspiring talk from both speakers. We understand that the pandemic have impacted our food system and food security in terms of its availability, accessibility, and utilization, and also probably in terms of the nutritional status. And there are Dr. Rilo has explained already global regional initiatives to ensure the food security. There are a lot of initiatives already to ensure that the regional food system runs. The regional food system is intact and could ensure the flow of goods to ensure the food security in the region. Apart from that, Prof. Kitty also has shared about local food system by following the philosophy of the food sufficiency from the King Bhumibol. So in conclusion, to ensure food security, we are really rely on the regional cooperation to ensure the food security in the region, as well as the importance of local initiatives to ensure food security. With that, I thank you very much to both the speakers. Thank you very much, everyone, for listening. And I hand over the room to Sasa. Over to you, Sasa.
Thank you very much to our speakers and moderator for the insightful session on food system and food security, as well as to our participants who took part in the discussion. For those who has just tuned into our YouTube channel, we would like to inform you again that we are tweeting live in our conference events through our Twitter account at SEAMEO. Please tweet your experience in joining this conference by mentioning at SEAMEO, and don't forget to put hashtag #FirstICFN, hashtag virtual conference, and hashtag ECCE. Please take note that we will announce the winner of the best comment on Twitter on the last day of the conference. Kindly tweet your insights or the main points discussed by our speakers or a summary of a plenary session. And don't forget to subscribe and like our YouTube channel. Our next session will be poster wall. You can watch the recorded poster presentations in the Zoom webinar, or you can take a look at the poster in the SEAMEO ICFN apps. You can drop your questions on the second day of the first SEAMEO International Conference, tomorrow, September 10, 2020 at 7:30 a.m. for registration. There will be the parallel sessions, hangout sessions, and poster wall. For further information, please check the SEAMEO ICFN mobile apps. Now, this marks the end of our third plenary session. Allow me to thank SEAMEO RecFon for conducting this conference, and to all our distinguished resource persons, as well as honorable participants, for your kind attention today. It was my great pleasure to be the Master of Ceremony for the first SEAMEO International Conference on Food and Nutrition. We hope to see you again in the next 2 days of the rest of our virtual conference sessions. My name is Izati Hayu Andari. Good afternoon.